Hello, I'm Abimbola Olashore, President of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, Nbcc. Distributors across Nigeria, this is your opportunity. African markets are evolving fast. Our UK companies are ready to partner with you to drive innovation, reliability, and long-term growth. Today, I'm inviting you to join the Digital Pathways to Africa campaign. Nigeria and the UK already share a very strong economic relationship as our trade continues to grow across the following sectors: agri and agro-allied, export, education, construction and real estate, energy, technology, financial services, creative and cultural sectors. The foundation is indeed very strong. Now it's time to build on it. British expertise in digital transformation, e-commerce, logistics, medtech, financial technology, and smart industry solutions is ready to support Nigeria's ambition to help you reach new markets across Africa. The technology is ready, and UK partners are ready to work with you. So if you're a distributor looking to grow, expand, and connect with world-class British companies, register with us today. Join the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce. Join Digital Pathways to Africa. Let's scale together.
Morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a very rainy morning. Good morning, President. Good morning, Deputy Presidents, members of Council, patrons, our distinguished guest speakers, esteemed moderator, our sponsors, our partners, our guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here this morning, beating the rain and coming here as scheduled. On behalf of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, I warmly welcome you to this Agriculture and Agro-Allied Summit themed Ensuring Food Security in Nigeria, Innovations, Investments, and Policy for a Resilient Future. My name is Adobe Onyedum. I'm the Director General of Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, and it's my honor and privilege to welcome you here today. To formally commence today's program, may I respectfully request that we rise up and observe the national anthems of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the United Kingdom.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. This summit has been carefully convened to bring together several policymakers, regulators, industry leaders, investors, and practitioners to exchange ideas, share experience, and collectively identify practical and scalable solutions to strengthen food production systems in Nigeria. Firstly, we welcome our special guest, Dr. Olaiwole Onasoya, retired permanent secretary, Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture, and Chief Consultant, Shakwo Consulting Services. Thank you, sir. We're honored to have our distinguished guest speakers who will be sharing their experience and perspectives during the course of this program. We have Mr. Kola Masha, founder and managing director of Babangona, who is going to join us soon, and Mr. John Alamu, group managing director, John Vance Group. Also, our panelists, we're very grateful that you're here today. We have Prince Wale Bama Oyekoya, MD CEO, Bama Farms Limited. We also have Dr. Moji Davids, Group Managing Director, Extra Large Farm and Resort. And we have Mrs. Victoria Omoadoka, Corporate Affairs and Sustainability Lead, Nestle, Nigeria. And we also have Mr. Utomi Ezinwa, Manager, Agribusiness and Non-Oil Export at Union Bank. And we appreciate our moderator, Mr. Oludare, who is the General Manager at the British American Tobacco Foundation. And we also extend our sincere appreciation to our sponsors, Red Star Livestock, John Vent, and Extra Large Farms. As we proceed towards today's discussions, we look forward to very rich discussions, actionable insights, and practical recommendations. Just a few housekeeping notes before we proceed. The questions will be taken during the Q&A session. Just indicate by raising your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. And also for social media engagement, please use the Chamber's designated hashtags. Please join me in welcoming our President and Chairman of Council, Prince Abimbola Olasore, for his welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, DG. Good morning, everybody. And to me, it's really showers of blessings. So when you have rains like this, it's something we all should be grateful for. If you're a farmer and you see the farms and this is an agric summit, you tell yourself, good, I'm going to have a bumper harvest. So that's the way I look at the rains this morning. So I'm pretty well sure our guests will join us. First of all, let me welcome Deputy President Akin Oshitoki, our special guest, panelists. I've not seen my council and ESCO members of Nbcc, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my distinct honor and great pleasure to welcome you to the Agriculture and Agro-Allied Summit of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce. We gather today at a defining moment in our national journey where food security has evolved beyond an agricultural concern to become a central pillar of economic stability, national security, and social well-being. The theme of this summit, ensuring food security in Nigeria, innovations, investments, and policy for a resilient future, speaks directly to both the urgency of our present realities and the shared responsibility we bear for shaping a more sustainable future. Nigeria is indeed richly endowed with a vast arable land, a vibrant and youthful population, and an entrepreneurial spirit that continues to distinguish us. Yet, despite these advantages, we continue to confront significant barriers to achieving sustainable food security, climate variability, supply chain inefficiencies, limited mechanization, post-harvest losses, and restricted access to finance remaining critical challenges within the sector. However, these challenges also present clear opportunities for reform and transformation. Opportunities to deepen agricultural productivity through innovation, from climate-smart agriculture to digital tools that enhance efficiency, traceability, and market access. Opportunities to mobilize investments across the entire agricultural value chain, from production and storage to processing, logistics, and export. And critically, opportunities to strengthen policy frameworks that unlock growth and competitiveness. In this regard, policy reform remains central to our collective ambition. Key areas such as improving access to agricultural finance, strengthening land use systems, reducing post-harvest losses through infrastructural investment, and enhancing agro-processing capacity must remain priorities. Equally important is the need to align Nigeria's export potential with emerging global trade opportunities, including frameworks such as the UK's Developing Countries Trading Scheme, which provides enhanced access to eligible developing countries. Leveraging such schemes can significantly expand Nigeria's agro-export footprint and strengthen our integration into global value chain. I think I'll add some few comments to that. Our biggest challenge in Nigeria is that we always wanted to export. And what we are seeing is that opportunities are coming up globally. And for us in Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, we know about the opportunities that exist in trying to export to the UK. But what we need in Nigeria are now the private sector to step up to the plate. We are all very aware that investment must go in infrastructure. And sometimes I laugh. I keep on saying everybody is waiting for somebody to do the infrastructure. Do you get it? We know we have logistics challenge. But I keep on telling people that is where the opportunity lies. The world is waiting for Nigerian exports. It's now for the Nigerian private sector to step up and sometimes make that initial investment in the infrastructure that enable us to export in a very seamless manner. From UK in particular, I'm sure if you saw the advert that was shown earlier on, they are ready for Nigerian export, but they must come in a form and manner that will be acceptable to the UK market. So for some of our SMEs, you need significant investment. You need to scale up to meet some of the challenges. You need to invest in the systems. So it is very important. And as a chamber, we remain firmly committed to advancing bilateral trade and investment between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, particularly in strategic sectors such as agriculture. Through structured partnerships, knowledge exchange, and private sector collaboration, we believe Nigeria can unlock its full agricultural potential and move closer to achieving lasting food security. This summit is not merely a platform for dialogue, it's a call to action, a call for stakeholders across government, the private sector, development institutions, and academia to converge, exchange insights, and co-create practical, scalable solutions that deliver measurable impact. I encourage us all to listen to these sessions, participate actively, listen with intent, and contribute thoughtfully. Let us ensure that we leave here not only with ideas, but a clear commitment with actionable pathways for collaboration and implementation. We are indeed privileged today to have a special guest, Dr. Olaiwola Onosanya, with us, the retired Permanent Secretary, Lagos State Ministry of Agri and Chief Consultant, Shakol Consulting Limited. We have our guest speaker, Mr. Kola Masha, that's the founder and director of Bama Ghana, and Mr. John Alamu, Group Managing Director of John Vance Group. I also acknowledge our esteemed panelists, they've all been mentioned earlier on, Prince Wale Bamo Yekoya, Dr. Moji Davis, Mrs. Victoria Umwa Doka, Mr. Otomi Ezinwa. And a special appreciation will go to our moderator, Mr. Aludari Odusoye, who is the General Manager of BATN Foundation for guiding today's discussion. Obviously, we must thank our sponsors, Red Star Express, Livestock Feeds, John Vance, and Extra Large Resorts. I really wish to express my profound appreciation to the Agric and Agro-Allied Committee. And I'm glad Ariel Danjuman came in. Thank you. Stand up and take a bow. Thank you for the tireless work that you are doing with this regard. I thank you for your commitment to the chamber and what you do for us. You've seen our DG and also the DG for the excellent work that we are doing. I must also acknowledge Deputy President Nnamdi Okonkwo, who came in while I was speaking. Thank you very much for being here. And really, I must thank everybody for joining us this morning. I encourage you once again to actively engage in today's discussions, listen with intent, and contribute meaningfully. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very productive morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Please let's give a round of applause for the President and Chairman of Council. I know it's a rainy morning, but we need your energies to have a very fulfilling event today. Moving on, we are going to have please join me rather in welcoming the Chairman of the Agriculture and Agro-Allied Committee, Are Alhaji Kamaruddin Danjuma, for his opening remarks. Please come forward, sir.
Thank you, Hadiji. Beautiful Thursday morning. Our President, the Chairman of Council, members of the Council, member of ESCO, our distinguished special guest, our esteemed speakers, moderators, our valued sponsors, our partner, captains of industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, it is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you to the Nigeria-British Chamber of Commerce Agriculture and Agro-Allied Summit 2026. theme ensuring food security in Nigeria, innovations, investment, policy for resilient futures. Distinguished guests, this summit has been thoughtfully convened as a strategic platform to bring together key stakeholders across the agricultural value chain. Policymakers, agribusiness, leaders, investors, development partners, and financial institutions to engage meaningful dialogue, share insights, and collective chart as a suitable path toward food security in Nigeria. The theme of this year's summit is both timely and impressive. Food security no longer just a development goal. It is a national priority tied directly to economic stability, social well-being, national resilience. Nigeria faces a lot of complex mixed with challenges, from climate change, supply chain, distribution financing gap, post-harvest loss, and enforced policies landscape. At the same time, the challenges present significant opportunity for innovation, investment, and transformation. The critical question before us today is, how do we strengthen the agricultural productivity through innovation and technology? How do we unlock the sustainable finance and attract long-term investment into the sector? How do we build policies framework that are not only enabling but also resilient to the forward-looking? Agriculture remains cornerstone of Nigeria's economy, employing a significant portion of the population, contributing meaningfully to the GDP. Yet, the sector evolved from subsistence living practices to commercially valued and extended agricultural business model. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply honored to host an exceptional lineup of speakers who bring wealth experience and practical insight to this discussion. We are privileged to welcome Mr. Kola Masha, founder and managing director of Baban Gonan, whose innovative approach the smaller farmer support and transform the agricultural productivity and livelihood across Nigeria. We are equally delighted to have Mr. John Alamu, founder and chief executive officer of John Vent Group, a key player in Nigeria's agricultural business and export value chain, who will continue to strengthen Nigeria's position in global agricultural markets. We are honored by the presence of our distinguished special guest, my darling brother, we call him Super Pamsec, Dr. Olayiwola Onosonya, a retired permanent secretary of Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture, whose decade of public service have contributed significantly to the agricultural development and implementation. Our panel session will also benefit from the rich perspective of seasoned industrial leaders, including Prince Wale Bama, MD Bama Farm Limited, Dr. Moji David, the Group Managing Director, Extra Large Farm and Resource, Ms. Victoria Iwadoka, Corporate Affairs and Sustainable Lead of Nesto, Mr. Utomi Isiwam, the Managing Agricultural Business and Non-Oil Sector Junior Bank. Guiding this important conversation, it is an extreme moderator, Mr. Oludare Odusonya, MBA, FIM, General Manager, Platinum Foundation, who experience in agricultural development and sustainable will enrich our dialogue. We also take this opportunity to sincerely appreciate our valued sponsors, John Vent Group Limited, the Resta, led by our own, the Vice Chairman of Ag Committee, and Livestock Feed PLC, an extra large farm, for their commitment to advance the agricultural sector and for supporting this important platform. Ladies and gentlemen, today's summit is not merely about dialogue. It is about outcome. It is about foresting, collaboration, driving innovations, and inspiring actionable solutions that will strengthen Nigeria's food system and ensure long-term resilience. As we engage throughout today's session, I encourage each of us to think beyond challenges and focus on opportunity to invest in, innovate, and to influence policy that will shape the future of agriculture in Nigeria. I welcome you all. Please sit and rest your same. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Before we go ahead into the events, we're going to take one of our sponsored video. Let's have the Red Star Express video. And interestingly, the Group Managing Director for Red Star, Mr. Babura, is also the Vice Chairman for the Agric and Agro-Allied Committee. Media, please let's have the Red Star video.
What keeps business moving? Speed, precision, reliability. In today's world, every second drives value. Every shipment matters. At Red Star Express, we deliver logistics solutions built for performance. With over 3 decades of experience, we operate across all 36 states in Nigeria, with a presence in Benin, Niger, and Burkina Faso, delivering to over 1,500 communities nationwide. As a licensee of FedEx, we connect businesses to over 220 countries worldwide. As general cargo agents to major domestic airlines, we support efficient cargo movement across key routes nationwide, ensuring timely delivery across Nigeria. From international and domestic delivery to haulage and e-commerce logistics and warehousing solutions, we provide solutions tailored to business needs. Our subsidiaries strengthen our capabilities across the logistics value chain. Red Star Logistics, Red Star Freight, Red Star Support Services, a publicly quoted company, Standard Organization of Nigeria, ISO 9001, 2015 certified, driven by logistics experts with a commitment to excellence. Contact us today. Visit www.redstarplc.com or email inquiries@redstarplc.com. Red Star Express, sure to deliver beyond expectations.
Thank you very much, Red Star. We'll now move to the highlights of today's session. We have our guest speaker, Mr. Kola Masha, who is the founder and managing director. But before he takes the stage, I will briefly introduce him. His profile is very extensive, so I'll just present an abridged version. Mr. Kola Masha is a Nigerian business leader and co-founder of Babangona, an agricultural social enterprise focused on empowering rural youth and smallholder farmers in northern Nigeria. Through its innovative farming platform, Babangona has supported over 200,000 farmers and created more than 350,000 jobs, helping to reduce poverty and youth unemployment. Before Babangona, Mr. Kola held leadership roles at Notor Group, GE, and Abiomed, with experience spanning corporate finance, agriculture, and business development across 4 continents. He also served as senior advisor to Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture and is a recipient of the prestigious Scholar Award for Social Entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a welcome to Mr. Kola Masha as he takes on the stage.
Greatly appreciated. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for the kind invitation. I believe I have some slides, and the clicker, please. Thank you so much. So, distinguished guests, members of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, my fellow architects of Nigeria's prosperity. In 2026, Nigeria does stand at a little bit of a crossroads. We're a nation of approximately 230 million souls, the most populous on this continent and among some of the most agriculturally endowed. Our agricultural sector is not merely an economic category, it is the heartbeat of our economy, contributing between 25 and 30% directly. But if you actually measure it based on the value of the inputs into the agriculture sector, seeds, fertilizers, so on and so forth, and its impact on the output, food, processing, logistics, it's actually 40% of our GDP. And the reality is that it's the daily reality of many of our people. But that heartbeat is truly under strain. Agricultural productivity is stagnating, while our population surges ahead at a pace that, quite frankly, our agriculture sector struggles to match. Each year, the gap between what our land produces and what our people need grows ever wider. And behind that gap sits even a harder truth. 38 million smallholder farmers, the backbone of our food system, remain disconnected from one another, from markets, from capital, battling low productivity and mounting climate vulnerability, largely alone. For Nigeria's youth, this fragmentation is not an economic abstraction, it is the wall they run into. When farming cannot sustain a family, when rural economies and opportunity has collapsed, when 20 million young people enter a saturated workforce in just 2 decades, despair fills a space, and despair fills a space that really hope should occupy. And despair does not sit still. Armed conflict on our continent has surged 7-fold in a single decade. This is not coincidence. It is consequence. As oxygen is to fire, so are unemployed youth to insecurity. In Nigeria alone, that despair, unfortunately, has tragically fueled not 1, not 2, but 3 separate insurgencies. This is the Nigeria that greets us today. With a median age of 18, over 80 million more young Nigerians will seek to enter this workforce in the next 20 years. Pause on that number. If 20 million triggered 3 insurgencies, what will 80 million unleash? Some call this a ticking time bomb. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you today that bomb has already exploded, and we are living in the shockwave. But shockwaves, by their nature, carry a choice. You can be knocked back by them, or you can ask what must be built that was never there before. That is why I stand before you today, not to catalog this crisis, but to show you what it demands of all of us. This crisis I have just described is not new and is not unique to Nigeria. 100 years ago, the agribusiness titans we know today, the Nestle's, the Heinz, the Cargills, were born into precisely this environment. Millions of disconnected smallholder farmers, fragmented supply chains, volatile pricing, and a growing population that existing agricultural systems struggled to feed. The chaos that greets us today greeted them first. They did not look at it and walk away. They looked at it and asked, what system must be built that is not there yet? They became titans not by fighting systems that worked. They became titans by building systems where none existed. Decentralized supply chains, farmer productivity ecosystems, scalable distribution systems. That is what this crisis demands, not participation in a broken system, but the decision to build the one that replaces them. Nigeria does not need to retrace this century-old path. What our ingenuity and modern technology will enable us to actually leapfrog it entirely, but only if we make the same foundational choices. Now, we have not just studied these giants. We've focused over the last decade and a half to build a playbook. At Babangona, which means great farm in Hausa, we're not running a charity. We're running a high-performance agricultural ecosystem. And we have proven something that the market long doubted, that social impact is not an outcome of the business, but can be the fundamental foundation that enables it to sustain and scale at massive levels. Since 2012, we've grown from serving just 100 farmers to cumulatively now serving over 500,000 farmers. We've doubled their incomes relative to the national average, and we've deployed over $250 million in financing directly into rural communities while maintaining an average of over 99% repayment rates on the financing we provide. In a sector where the world once called it too risky to touch, we've proven over the last decade and a half that it's truly bankable and scalable. Now, the question is not whether it works. The question is how can we make that impact travel further? The answer is what we call agri-finance as a service ecosystem, or AFAS. Think of it as a business in a box, a proven model that empowers a single agro-processor to catalyze an entire ecosystem of independent, locally led agricultural financing enterprises at the grassroots level. 7 years ago, we looked at our approach and realized that it worked for us, but it will struggle to work for others. So we repackaged the recipe. We built a framework powered by AI and technology, adapted to local crop varieties and conditions, one that any agro-processor can use to build their own ecosystem with the same results that we've achieved. Every agro-processor in this room knows 3 walls. Fragmented supply. You cannot build a business on inputs you cannot predict. Inconsistent quality. A supply chain built on variation is a liability, not an asset. Pricing, margins that evaporate when you have no anchor market. These are not Nigerian problems. They are the exact same walls that the Nestles, the Heinz, the Cargills faced a century ago. The difference is that they chose to do something about it. The AFAS model is built around really 3 pillars that these organizations followed. The first is they became the farmer's bank. Fragmented supply exists because farmers cannot afford the inputs to grow consistently. In partnership with existing financial institutions, commercial banks, other partners, they provided direct in-kind financing for farmers within their ecosystem. And their supplies went from being fragmented to being highly predictable. They became the farmer's university. Inconsistent quality exists because farming without protocols produces variable results. They deployed advisors to teach precise data-driven agronomic practices. You're not just growing crops, you are standardizing the raw materials for your business that truly your business depends on. Consistent inputs, consistent outputs. They became the farmer's guaranteed market. Volatile pricing exists because farmers oftentimes are unable to produce at high levels of productivity. They offer fair contracts and guaranteed offtake. And the key thing is because the ecosystem they're building is a profit center. So they're actually, for the first time, able to make a profit from serving farmers and enabling those farmers to drive high productivity. The profits from that endeavor, even though they are buying products at market prices and fair prices from farmers, they're implicitly buying it at a discount of up to 10% of what their competitors are doing. Now, these walls, 3 pillars, each one converts a chronic headache into a structural advantage. Now, 3 pillars described what you must do, but how do you take this from thousands of farmers, even hundreds of thousands of farmers, to tens of millions of farmers? The answer is technology, specifically platforms that become the digital nervous system of the entire ecosystem. Our platform, which is built by the largest technology team dedicated to smallholder farmers on the continent, leverages artificial intelligence, biometrics, advanced credit scoring, and predictive analytics. What was once a chaotic, unreadable supply chain becomes a predictable, bankable operation. Now, this journey we've been on, we have not done this alone. In 2013, when Babangona was still very young, and the case for smallholder investment was very far from proven, the British government made a decision. They became our first institutional investor, backing us with our, what we called at the time, our Raise Out of Poverty bond. That decision carried risk. It required conviction, and today it stands vindicated. The British International Investment, the UK's development finance institution, has now committed 10 times the size of their first investment that they made over a decade ago. This is what partnership at its best looks like. Patient capital that stays, grows, and multiplies. Now, statistics explain a problem. Stories remind you truly why it matters. So let me tell you a short story about Saminu. Saminu watched his parents work relentlessly, and as he said, they had babu, nothing. He fled to the nearby city in Zaria and drove a motorcycle taxi, a tattered machine whose wheels were made truly more of patches than tire. His days were shadowed by fear that losing his motorcycle meant destitution. And in that fear, as we have already seen, lies that desperate path towards something far more darker. But Saminu returned home at the urging of his father. He joined Babangona and received the training, the credit, and the markets he needed to thrive. 3 years later, he bought 2 goats for his mother to start a goat rearing business. He owned a retail shop, and he had not 1, but 2 motorcycles, proudly displaying vanity license plates, Babangona. In a technical report, we call this a yield improvement. In Saminu's home, it's a dignity metric. He's no longer the victim of a global economy. He is a driver on it. Now, Saminu is not exceptional. He's a template. There are today, over the next decade to 2 decades, there will be 30 million Saminus waiting across Nigeria, looking for opportunities that can be found in agriculture. But they will need about $30 billion in financing to achieve what Saminu achieved. This is a challenge I can place before everybody in this room. To individuals, you're not bystanders in the story. You can go to crowdfunding sites like Kiva today and lend as little as 20,000 naira to an African farmer. You can be the spark. To finance institutions, the risk of lending to the agriculture sector, quite frankly, is a myth. We've demonstrated at massive scale, achieving a 99% repayment rate over a decade and a half, deploying over $250 million in financing. Partner with organizations to deploy systems like the AFAS ecosystem. It is a de-risked path that moves agro-processors from foundational to sustainable commercial bankability. To agro-processors, your smallholder farmers are not really a peripheral concern. They are your most vital suppliers. Build an agri-finance as a service ecosystem like the Nestle's, like the Cargills, like the Heinz's. And you, too, can be the next Cargill. Source high-quality produce at lower cost and create profound impact, all in the same stroke. To governments, you are really fundamentally the ultimate enabler. You can partner with organizations to drive adoption of these systems across the agricultural value chains and the financing value chains. This is how food security, economic growth, and national stability are built. Now, as we leave the summit, I want to leave you with one fundamental truth. We must recognize that a spark is never struck from a single stone. Without investment partnerships nurtured by organizations like the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, stone striking stone, this Nigerian spark that we all dream of will never light our nation. So together, ladies and gentlemen, let us choose to ignite the spark and light our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We are making a bit of a progress. Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful session. Remember, if you have Q&A, there will be a Q&A session where we can take our questions and we'll have our answers as well. To proceed further, we are going to quickly take our second presentation. Given the second presentation for today, we have Mr. John Alamu, Group Managing Director, John Vance Group. Before he steps in, I'll just also read his profile briefly. Mr. John Adedamola Alamu is a Nigerian entrepreneur, statistician, and founder group of the Capital Sage Holdings, a multinational conglomerate with interests in agribusiness, fintech, manufacturing, and healthcare. He also founded John Vance Group, and an agribusiness and manufacturing company operating across Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Starting in 2014 with 100,000 naira in microloans from farmers and market women. For farmers and market women, Mr. John built on experience gained with organizations such as IITA, IFDC, FAO, and Catholic Relief Services. Under his leadership, John Vance Group grew from a single cocoa facility into a network of 10 factories with an annual cocoa processing capacity of 48,000 metric tons. By 2024, the group has become Nigeria's largest sesame exporter, generating about $200 million in export revenue and supporting over 20,000 farmers while employing more than 3,000 people directly and indirectly. Please join me as I welcome on stage Mr. John Alamu as he also delivers his presentation.
Good morning, Saz and Maz. Oh, it's my friend. That's a very beautiful profile. I was almost wondering if she was talking about me, So I will try as much as possible to follow what my team has asked me to, deliver. Distinguished guests, honorable members of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, captains of industry, development partners, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to stand before you today to speak on the theme, ensuring food security in Nigeria, innovations, investments, and policy for a resilient future. We gather at a very crucial moment that demands honesty, courage, and decisive action. The subject before us, food security, is the most abused term in Nigeria. You hear food security, you hear food insecurity, but it's a term that is often used when we want to look for money from DFIs and financial institutions. However, it is the most fundamental obligation a society owes its people. It is the bedrock on which human dignity and economic productivity and a national stability are built. I'm speaking today not only as a concerned citizen, but as someone who has spent the better part of the last decade in the thick of this challenge, building the joint venture group from a smallholder farmers support business to a commodity supply chain operation, and now to one of the largest agro-processing and global agribusinesses out of Nigeria. What I've learned from the farm gates to global markets is this: the solution to food insecurity actually exists. What has often been missing is the will, the coordination, and the capital to deploy the solutions at scale. There's a major crisis that we cannot ignore. The Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, has warned that up to 34 million Nigerians could face severe food insecurity in the 2026 lean season if timely and coordinated interventions are not implemented. I think we should let that figure settle, 37 million. That is larger than many population of African countries. These are not abstract numbers. These are children. These are our mothers. These are our farmers. So, what is this food security that we always talk about? The 1996 World Food Summit defined food security as a condition where all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. I would underline the word nutritious, that meet their dietary needs for an active and healthy life. There are 4 pillars that underpin that vision. 1, the physical availability of food, not audio availability. The access to food, the utilization of food, and the stability of all these 3 at the same time. Sadly, Nigeria is not doing well on all 4 counts, and we must say so plainly if we are to fix this problem. What are the root causes of food security? We can talk about a few, ranging from insecurity and conflict, especially in the Northeast, economic shocks, climate vulnerability, post-harvest losses, systemic underinvestment. I would also say there is a thin line between food security and economic development. And food security is a topic that John Vent, we are very, very careful about. We are largely an exports business. And when we talk about food security, you need to make food available in your country, for your people to eat. But as a business, we deal with cocoa, cashew, food crops that are largely, export commodities. And of course, we need to balance food security and, economic growth, because we also need to export these cash crops so that we can influence FX and, of course, guarantee economic stability. I'll talk about the roadmap, innovations, investment, and policy. The challenges of food security are formidable, but they are not insurmountable. A joint study by the World Food Programme and the African Development Bank and the International Food Policy Research Institute, titled Investing in Innovative Food Systems Solutions in Challenging Contexts, has laid out a credible, evidence-based roadmap for reversing this trajectory. The roadmap rests on three interlocking pillars: innovation, investment, and policy. Let's talk about the first pillar, innovation. We must embrace climate-smart agriculture at scale. This means drought-resistant, flood-resistant seed varieties, precision irrigation systems, and agro-meteorological advisory services that help our smallholder farmers make better planting decisions. There's a case study that we thought we should share with you. I'll give you a concrete example of technology already working in Nigeria. The Crop Watch program, led by the UNCTAD in partnership with the Nigeria National Space Research and Development Agency. It uses satellite imagery and artificial intelligence to provide real-time crop condition monitoring, yield predictions, and early warning for pests and drought events. In 2024, these tools gave Nigerian officials advance notice of a severe rainfall deficit, enabling farmers to adjust their planting calendars and reduce the risk of widespread crop failure. This kind of precision intelligence should be in every state and should be of interest to the Ministry of Agriculture in Nigeria. Another case study, at John Vent, we have lived in this reality. When we acquired our first factory, the 18,000 metric ton cocoa factory, previously occupied by Holam in Ondo State, and invested to revamp it. The core rationale was simple. Nigeria has been exporting raw cocoa beans for decades and watching foreign manufacturers capture 80% of the global cocoa value chain. We invested in processing. We processed cocoa into liquor, cake, butter, and powder. What that did for us is that it allowed us to export to the United Kingdom, to Europe, to North America at a greater value of 6x. Now, if you export raw cocoa bean, you get 1x of the value. But when you process to butter, cake, and powder, you get times X of that value. And I would say that today we have expanded from the original 18,000 metric ton capacity factory to 48,000 metric tons of annual processing capacity across our facilities in Ondo State. Today, we are the largest cocoa processor in Nigeria. And this has also been made possible, thank you. This has also been made possible by a very strategic investment from the British government. There's the development finance arm of British government called the BI, British International Investment. They invested $40 million. Well, I always like to add the $500,000. $40,500,000 into the overhauling of one of our plants. And, this funding has been very strategic to drive and increase cocoa processing in Nigeria. The lesson is direct and transferable. Value addition at the farm gate and processing level does not just improve profitability, it strengthens the entire food system. It creates stable demand for farmers, generates employment, and builds the supply chain resilience that food security requires. Pillar 2, investment. Nigeria cannot fund its agricultural transformation from the public purse alone. The honest reality is this: we need bold, blended, patient finance, a creative combination of public funding, development finance, and private capital. I'll give you another case study. In April 2025, Nigeria broke ground on the first of 8 special agro-industrial processing zones in Kaduna State, financed by a $510 million package from AFDB, the Islamic Development Bank, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development. We all know Kaduna is a leading producer of ginger, maize, and tomato. That single investment will be used to transform these value chains into integrated agricultural processing hubs. When Kaduna State increased its agricultural budget from $1.4 billion in 2023 to $74.2 billion, representing 10% of the state budget, in 2025, investors noticed political will attracts capital. The two moves together. I'll talk about Pillar 3, which is policy. A good policy is the force multiplier that makes innovations and investment work at scale. Without it, funding and technology in the world would reduce. First, we need a serious, costed, and time-bound national food security strategy. Second, we must urgently reform our food security, our food safety, and market infrastructure. Third, Nigeria must prioritize peace as a prerequisite for food security. Fourth, our trade policies must serve our farmers first. Import tariffs and subsidies should be calibrated to protect domestic production during critical growth phases. Simultaneously, we must reduce barriers to intra-African trade and NAFTA, which present enormous opportunities for Nigerian agricultural exports. I want to leave you with this thought. The moment is now. Nigeria sits on over 70 million hectares of arable land, one of the largest agricultural endowments on the continent. We have abundant water. Our youths are not lazy. Of course, I'm a youth and I'm not lazy. The British-Nigeria business corridor represented in this chamber has a real and urgent role to play. British expertise in agri-technology, agricultural financing, food processing, and supply chain management combined with Nigerian land, labor, and market is a partnership whose time has come. Let the summit be remembered not merely as a gathering of important people. Let it be remembered as a moment when Nigerian private sector, government, and international partners made a shared binding commitment to build a food-secure Nigeria within our generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, for that session. Next up, we are going to play our sponsors video. Media, please have the video from Livestock Feed PLC and Extra Large Farm and Resort. Okay, thank you, media. If we can also have a video from John Vent's group, let's play that one as well. John Vent is not only just the keynote speaker, they also sponsored the event. Please, let's have the video from John Vent.
Today, we did John Vent Cocoa Farm for that.
I did this place, don't they go like 25 years.
What began as a reviving a silent cocoa plant has blossomed into a chain of businesses rooted in purpose and growing with impact. The raw cocoa begins to transform within the John Vance 18,000 metric tons capacity factory wall. Welcome to Premium Cocoa Products, Ile Oluji Limited.
Pure Cocoa Products Oluji is a subsidiary of the John Vance Group and the second cocoa processing factory under the group.
You don't talk a lot here, but everyone knows why we are here. When that truck leaves, it carries the efforts of people who showed up every day at the clockwork.
Every day, Haven Hauling moves tons of our cocoa derivatives, liquor, butter, cake, from processing plants to the ports.
Here at Noble Eagle, we create food essentials that nourish and fill homes with joy.
Our products fill bellies, bring families together, and create bonds that last a lifetime.
While our cocoa power industries globally, we've never lost sight of home, because nourishing the world means little if we do not nourish our own. From local to global, from farm to table, this is the story of John Vance Group. John Vance Group, nourishing Africa and the world.
Okay, thank you so much, media. A round of applause for our sponsors. They've also made, we can have a taste actually, they've also made tea available outside. So during our 5 minutes tea break, please feel free to step out and grab a drink. I know the weather is not hot. Okay, so moving on, we are going to have our goodwill message from Dr. Olaiwole Onasoya. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Onasoya, retired permanent secretary, Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture, and chief consultant at Shakwol Consulting Services, for his presentation. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to give a goodwill message as well as some of the things that is happening in Nigeria, especially the intensity of food insecurity. Mr. Marshall said food security is built, not promised. I think that's very profound. Very profound. I don't know if I have... Hello? Do I have my... Well, I can just... can you... Which one? This side. Also, John Vent, he said, sorry, I want to. Okay, thank you. John Vent said the coordination to deploy the resources to tackle food security is lacking. That's another profound statement. Let us look at this table. Food insecurity table by region. Northwest. There is what we call an inter-panel classification of food insecurity. There is phase 1 to 5. And I tell you, it's becoming a big problem. The issue of persistent insecurity, climate shocks. Look at Northwest. High food insecurity scale, especially Zamfara, Sokoto, and Katsina. Look at Northeast too, very high, 3 to 4. Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, called the Bay States. North Central, moderate. Southwest, low to moderate. Southeast, moderate. South-South, moderate. Now, let me leave. The dimensions of food security have already been mentioned. Phases in food security. There's what we call integrated food security phase classification. There's the no minimal food insecurity phase 1. There's the stressed acute food insecurity. And I think in Nigeria today, from phase 2 to phase 3, where families spend most of their income on food. If you are spending about 65% and above of your income on food, then you are becoming food insecurity. Because you cannot do any other thing, like school fees of your children, wearing good clothes, and so on. And then there's the emergency acute food insecurity. And this is a major problem that we have mainly in the north. Then the catastrophe, if we are not careful in parts of northeast, where there's a lot of persistent insecurity, then it may be a problem. Well, as a former government official, maybe I will tell you what some of the things the government has done, majorly federal government, initiatives on food insecurity, ensure subsidized inputs, expand and increase farmers' productivity, and so on. There's agricultural production and input support, like the Agro-Pocket scheme, the special agro-industrial processing zones mentioned by Mr. John Vent. It is implemented in 7 states presently, Cross River, Imo, Kaduna, Kano, Kwara, and so on. About African Development Bank. Then agricultural mechanization, partnership with Belarus government to acquire 10,000 tractors over 10 years, with 2,000 already supplied. But the problem is, those tractors, are they still there or they have been distributed? I think that's an issue that I will discuss. Then youth and employment. Then the Green Initiative project with the government of Brazil, still They are working on it. Policy and institutional reforms. A national food and nutrition policy being developed, which I will talk in my conclusion. Then also there are collaboration with multilateral agencies like the Fadama Project and so on, like the World Bank, the establishment of the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development, primarily to improve livestock production as well as to reduce significantly the farmers' herders clash. Then import duty waiver on some agricultural products like rice and so on. But also, we need to be very careful so that we do not stifle domestic production. The National Commodity Board, we've heard about that, and I think we need to do a lot on the National Commodity Board, the water resources management, and so on. Climate and environmental interventions. I'm aware of the National Agency for the Great Green Wall program, trying to combat desertification through large-scale tree planting, establishing shelter beds, and so on. Then land degradation, poverty alleviation, and livelihoods. Also, food systems coordination. There's a presidential food system coordinating unit. Coordinates national food system strategies and focuses on dry season farming, established in July 2024 within the Nigerian presidency. Its primary functions including coordinating food systems across federal, state, and local governments, and fostering private sector collaboration, accelerating agricultural interventions. So all these are some of the things the federal government has been able to do. There's also the economic and financial support measures. One of them is that the government has given the Bank of Agriculture a 1.5 trillion naira recapitalization for Bank of Agriculture as of mid-2025. And this is one of the most significant boosts to agricultural financing and a strategy to support smallholder farmers, youth, and women. Also provided a 250 billion facility for Bank of Agriculture to provide low-interest loan to farmers. And then the Bank of Industry to recapitalize to the tune of 3 trillion naira. All these are some of the things the government has been able to do. The issue is how are the impacts. Then there's also the social protection and food assistance and emergency and resilience programs, like giving out food packs, vulnerable, and so on. Then there's a project also with the World Bank. This is as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. They call it Nigerian Cares. That is COVID-19 Action, Recovery, and Economic Stimulus. It's to support poor households, small businesses, and farmers. And part of it, agricultural inputs and assets, like fertilizer, tools, and so on, are part of it, and capacity building. It's a program of $750 million from the World Bank, an initial, and then another $500 million. Then we have the issue of security protection. The government has brought up the Forest Guards Initiative in 2025. But the issue is that it has not really been fully implemented, and maybe bureaucratic delays and interagency disagreements. Well, the impact, as I said, we need to look at the impact and how it has been able to solve the issue of food insecurity. Because as at early 2026, the situation is still critical, with projections indicating that 34.7 million people are at risk of worse levels of acute food insecurity, represent an increase from the previous years by FAO. Well, positive interventions. Well, establishment of the Ministry of Livestock Development. It was created, the issue of farmers' herders clash, and so on. Constraints and negative impacts. Let me say that persistent insecurity continues to disrupt agriculture, causing land abandonment, reduced yields, and preventing farmers to return to their farms. High food inflation and costs. Despite all these initiatives, Food inflation remained high, reaching 40% in June 2024, partly due to the lifting of the fuel subsidy in 2023, which may have caused increased transportation and input costs. Currency devaluation may have also been part of it. Then inadequate storage and distribution. For example, the government operates 33 grain silos, only about 286,000 metric tons of the 1.136 is operational, limiting the capacity to stabilize prices through strategic reserves. And these are issues that I think is very, very important to be solved. Well, the Nigerian situation is also critical. For example, we have only 46% of Nigerian arable land is cultivated, and farmers have no title to 95% of agricultural land, which can impede them from obtaining finance or investing in improvements. Data sources from the World Bank and FAO shows that tractor usage in Nigeria is 6.39 tractors per 100 square kilometers. And when you compare that with Kenya is 24.87. South Africa is 49.07. Djibouti is 61.69. And Egypt is 356.04. Also, we have 2 billion hectares of irrigable land, while only 10% are irrigated. There's a lot of issues on availability and high cost of inputs, such as fertilizer, improved seeds, and so on. So there's also alarming high post-harvest losses, as much as 30 to 40% for perishable goods due to poor storage facilities, inadequate transportation, and weak market linkage. When you see tomato being expensive in Bile 12, it's part of this. And with the population of Nigeria expected to reach 400 million by 2050, it's a lot of problems that we need to improve our food production by at least 250%. Innovations. Despite challenges, I think there is reason for optimism. Across Nigeria, innovative solutions have emerged that have the potential to transform the agricultural sector. One of the most promising developments is the rise of agricultural technology, or AgTech. Digital platforms now provide farmers with real-time information or weather, market prices, and best practices. Then we have the Hello Tractor Pioneers, which connect farmers to tractor owners via mobile technology. But despite the fact we still have to bridge that gap, the mechanization gap. Advances in seed technology, climate-resistant crop varieties that can withstand drought and pests. And in the area of storage and processing, solar-powered cold storage systems are helping to reduce post-harvest losses, but is still insignificant. Then digital finance is playing a transformative role, like the OPay, MoneyPoint, and so on. Mobile banking and fintech solutions are enabling farmers to access credit, make payments, and so on. Investments. The public sector has a role to play, as well as the private sector. Innovation is not the ultimate, but must be sustained by deliberate and sustained investments. Strengthening agricultural research institutions is essential for developing improved crop varieties, animal breeds, and farming practices, as well as strengthening our agricultural extension services. Will help farmers adopt more improved technologies. There must be investments in rural infrastructure, like roads and power. Let me give an example. We have some states that are busy building flyovers and so on. Instead, those funds should be channeled into areas like rural roads and so on, because that's where agriculture is. I think also investment in farming clusters, like farm settlements and estates. We have neglected that area. We remember late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the farm settlements, farm estates. Because a lot of land are being converted into housing estates and so on. Land meant for agriculture. And then investment in strategic gains reserve, is key, as well as establishing a national agricultural commodity exchange. A lot of investment is required, and then right policy framework. In the short term, government must focus on improving security in farming communities and ensuring that subsidies reach genuine farmers. Transparent and efficient distribution systems are important. Also, in the medium term, land reform is critical. Access to land remains a major constraint, particularly for young people and women. Our young people are very productive, but when there's no land reform, so simplifying land acquisition processes and strengthening land rights can unlock significant investment, establishing more farm estates and settlements. Let me just go into conclusion. Food security is not merely an agricultural issue, but it's an economic imperative, a national security concern, and even is a moral obligation. A nation that cannot feed itself is vulnerable in more ways than one. Nigeria has the resources, the talent, and the opportunity to achieve food security. What is required is the collective will to act through innovation, investment, and a thorough sound policy. Let us therefore commit to building a food system that is productive, inclusive, and resilient. A system that not only feeds our people, but also drives economic growth and national prosperity. In the end, ensuring food security is about more food, dignity, stability, and the future. And my final advice is that it's time to develop a 10-year master plan for agriculture. Agriculture will not thrive on emergency interventions. Developing a master plan is not just a job for government officials or university experts or just consultants. It involves all stakeholders in the agricultural sector and even a collaborative effort between the private sector, companies like Nestle, like John Vent, and so on. So it must be implemented also using the value chain approach. You cannot implement a master plan without using the value chain approach. From the seed production to the soil, to marketing, to transportation, to storage, to processing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Please let's give him another round of applause for this goodwill message / presentation. Next up, we're going to take a 5 minutes break, just stretch our legs. And before we head into the panel session, the main point of the day, a 5 minute break, stretch our legs. Feel free, go outside, grab a cup of tea. And in exactly 5 minutes, which is 11:40, we are going to come back here for the panel session. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Abimbola Olashore, President of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, Nbcc. Distributors across Nigeria, this is your opportunity. African markets are evolving fast. Our UK companies are ready to partner with you to drive innovation, reliability, and long-term growth. Today, I'm inviting you to join the Digital Pathways to Africa campaign. Nigeria and the UK already share a very strong economic relationship as our trade continues to grow across the following sectors: agri and agro-allied, export, education, construction and real estate, energy, technology, financial services, creative and cultural sectors. The foundation is indeed very strong. Now it's time to build on it. British expertise in digital transformation, e-commerce, logistics, medtech, financial technology, and smart industry solutions is ready to support Nigeria's ambition to help you reach new markets across Africa. The technology is ready, and UK partners are ready to work with you. So if you are a distributor looking to grow, expand, and connect with world-class British companies, register with us today. Join the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce. Join Digital Pathways to Africa. Let's scale together.
What keeps business moving? Speed, precision, reliability. In today's world, every second drives value. Every shipment matters. At Red Star Express, we deliver logistics solutions built for performance. With over 3 decades of experience, we operate across all 36 states in Nigeria, with a presence in Benin, Niger, and Burkina Faso, delivering to over 1,500 communities nationwide. As a licensee of FedEx, we connect businesses to over 220 countries worldwide. As general cargo agents to major domestic airlines, we support efficient cargo movement across key routes nationwide, ensuring timely delivery across Nigeria. From international and domestic delivery to haulage and e-commerce logistics and warehousing solutions, we provide solutions tailored to business needs. Our subsidiaries strengthen our capabilities across the logistics value chain. Red Star Logistics, Red Star Freight, Red Star Support Services, a publicly quoted company, Standard Organization of Nigeria, ISO 9001, 2015 certified, driven by logistics experts with a commitment to excellence. Contact us today. Visit www.redstarplc.com or email enquiries@redstarplc.com. Red Star Express, sure to deliver beyond expectations.
Please, let's make it back to our seats. We have enough time to network and exchange cards, alongside speak to someone you haven't talked to in a long time. Please, let's make it back to our seats, please. Thank you very much. Please make it back to your seats. We are going to head. Okay. Okay. So we have a bit of time. We'll just take a 2-minute photograph with our guest speakers before they leave. Okay, all right. Please, let's have the president and our guest speakers on stage. Let's just quickly take the pictures before we head right into the panel session. Please sit tight. Our panel session is a very insightful one. I think that's the reason most of us are here. And we'll start just immediately after this picture. Thank you. Are we good now? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, let's make it back to our seats. We're about to go into the panel session. And then afterwards, we're going to have our Q&A. Please make it back to our seats. Wale, please, can you get everybody back inside? Thank you. All right. One house, please. We'll go right into our panel. We'll be calling up on stage. Media, please turn down the music. Thank you. We'll be calling up on stage the moderator of the panel, Mr. Oludare Odusayo, who is the general manager at the BATN Foundation, and he's going to be introducing the rest of the panelists. A round of applause for him, please.
Good morning. Okay, I'll allow the pictures to go and then we'll run through what I need to do. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go right into it in the interest of time so that we can make progress as well. Because I do a lot of work around smallholder farmers, supporting them and things like that, there is a chant we have, and I'm happy that Dr. Nosonya is here. So at least he will help me help the high table to make the chant. So we say, great farmers. Okay, thank you. Great farmers. No farmer. Okay, so can we say that again? Great farmer. No farmer. So don't think because you do not have a farmland growing crops or rearing animals, you are not a farmer. As long as you are eating food, you are part of the value chain. You play a role in the agricultural sector. So a critical question we'll ask ourselves today is, can Nigeria be food secure? Can anyone help me? Or can we just give a unanimous answer? Can Nigeria be food secure? It's not resounding enough. Can Nigeria be food secure? I'm only hearing the first two tables. Can Nigeria be food secure? Okay. But the onus is on us, right, to make it happen. So distinguished guests, you'll permit me to bring up on stage some of our panelists who will help do justice to this conversation. I'm glad that those that have gone ahead of us have helped us with numbers, with data, with statistics. So our conversation is going to be very crisp. It's just going to be our panelists speaking to us, not on theories, but on what needs to be done for us to move forward. A lot has been said around what is not good, but we now want to say what needs to happen. How do we progress from where we are to be called a food secure country? So in no particular order, I would like to bring up on stage Mrs. Victoria Nwadoka. She's the Corporate Communications and Public Affairs and Sustainability Lead in Nestle, Nigeria. In the interest of time, these are very big people, so I do not want to bore you with a lot in terms of their profile. Next, I would like to bring up on stage, is no other than, I hope he's on ground, Prince Wale Bama Oyekoya. Is he around? He's the Managing Director and CEO, Bama Foods Limited. Thank you very much. Please, can we appreciate our panelists as they come up? Next, I would like to also bring a very pretty lady, as she calls herself, in the farming sector. She's no other person than the Group Managing Director of Extra Large Farm and Resort, in the person of Dr. Moji Davids. Please, can we celebrate her as she comes up, please? And then, the last not the least, of course, when we talk about agric, finance is always a critical conversation that comes to bear. So permit me as I welcome the Manager, Agribusiness and Non-Oil Exports from Union Bank PLC in the person of Mr. Utomi Ezinwa. Please, can we celebrate him as he comes up, please? Again, I'll ask the question, can we be food secure? like only our dignitaries and our distinguished guests don't want to go on. So permit me to sit, distinguished panelists. Okay, so good morning. We'll go very quickly into the conversation. A lot has been said around arable land use. A lot has been said around irrigation or irrigated land use. A lot has been said in terms of the value chains and the opportunities that exist within the demography that we have in Nigeria. So a critical question we'll be looking at today is, what needs to be fixed in the next 3 to 5 years to bring us to that state of food, to bring us out of the stage of food insecurity? So in no particular order, I think I'll start with Dr. Bama. So what is the critical thing, the biggest bottleneck that we need to solve for us to become food secure?
Good
morning.
Morning. I think I'm wearing two caps right here. First of all, as a real farmers, I'm not just a political farmers. Has always been on the run. And at the same time, I'm a government official as a consultant to the Ogun State Governor on agriculture also. So that's why I say I'm wearing two caps. First of all, I think everybody have a role to play in terms of food security in Nigeria. And if we are going to do that, I believe everybody eat from their home before they come to this place. If not, you take a dinner. So where does the food come from? It comes from somebody that is producing this thing in the farm. So everybody have to be a contributor and to be able to reduce the insecurity of the environment we have. And it's a task that must be done, not only by the government, but by individualism. In the sense that, and luckily I have my former permanent secretary here, and he remembers some of the tasks that we have as a farmers that we are even still encountering right now. See, the problem is not far-fetched, and the solution is right here at our doorsteps. When farmers go to the farm and your life is not secured, some of these farmers will be discouraged to go back. I remember some of our colleagues in Lagos State when he was kidnapped in his farm. I think we bailed him out with almost about 50 million naira then. Since that time, the man never come back to the farm. And another occasions, sometimes, like in the Southwest, we are lucky that we don't really have some of these bandits issues with the farmers and herders. But the problem, I will say, is us and the government. In the sense that the government, they have laudable policies, but to implement this policy is always an issue among the interagencies departments.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, can we celebrate Prince once again? So I'm just going to push directly to you, Dr. Moji. Prince had mentioned that the problem is not government, that the problem is between implementation and we, the beneficiaries, farmers. So in your own way, and I know because you drive a lot of conversations and a lot of farms, basically in terms of production, do you agree with him that the government is not the problem? And if yes or if no, how can we then scale? Since his interpretation has defined that we do not have a problem within that context.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. If we say government is not a problem, that's not completely true. Because I've been opportunity to be in countries where there's massive support from the government towards agriculture, and I've seen what it looks like. And we do not have that yet here. Our former permanent secretary for Agriculture Lagos State was talking the other time, and he was like, oh, there's been 10,000 tractors, and 2,000 has been has been distributed. I was in Belarus. I'm trying to remember his face. At the time, they were putting up the structure and all that towards the, supply of the tractors and all. And, I'm not a farmer by mouth. I'm a farmer who has a farm that you can visit. You follow me to my farm now. And many of us who are these farmers, we have not had access to these things. You understand? So that's on the part of the government. So I think that there has to be a very clear-cut approach to how support that is coming from the government to the farmers is done. Because most of the times, these things, this support end up in the hands of people who are not the real farmers. Then the second issue is about confidence for the farmers. Confidence about security. If we're talking about food insecurity in Nigeria today, there's a lot that we have to consider. If I go to my farm, will I come back home? As a family man, if you're living and call yourself a farmer, will your family be happy that daddy is going to the farm? And are we expecting you back at night? Because we don't know what can happen. Security is a big problem there. It has to be fixed. And this is not something that can be single-handedly fixed, by individuals. Even though I have at one time advocated on behalf of some of us, in the private sector, in the agribusiness, that farmers should be allowed to carry licensed weapons in Nigeria so that the people who want to come and attack us, the farmers, when they know that we are well prepared, they will use their common sense. Okay. It's one of the things that we have to look into.
Thank you very
Confidence
much, Dr. Moji.
for farmers.
We'll leave that for security session to address. So, Madam Victoria, a quick question to you would also revolve around the same conversation. Again, we're setting the tone, as we move in this conversation. So, what should then be the role, or how can we then unlock that opportunity? We know there is a lot of opportunity that exists. We do not want to, like the former African Development Bank president would say, you cannot eat opportunities except you do them. You just keep saying them. So, what exactly do we need to do to be able to, maximize these opportunities that we have? At least looking at it from the lens from where you sit.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to speak to this. So the other panelists have spoken to the issue of security, so I'm not going to talk about that. The challenges for farmers, I won't speak to that. But I think that when we talk about food security, I think the keynote speakers have addressed some of those issues. It's not just about the availability of food. It's not just about self-sufficiency as Nigeria. And I know that when John Vance was speaking, he was talking about exports and imports and all of that. There are strategic exports and imports that we need to stabilize the environment. Because food security, as we've seen, is not just that, I have food today. It's that I have access to safe, nutritious food in the long term, no matter the shocks that come. That is real security. And today we talk about the fact that only 46% of our arable land is being used. And then we have 30 to 50% post-harvest losses. That means that the challenge is not just about the productivity of the farmers or the insecurity that prevents them from going to the farm, but the little that we produce from the 46% of our arable land, we are losing up to 50% of that. And that is not sustainable. If you're a businessman, that is not productivity. So we need to look at it in terms of that. There are three aspects that we need to think about: the production, and that will include the quality and the volume of production. So it's understood that we need to increase that. If we want to be sustainable, then we need to really be able to extend far beyond what we need. And if we're growing to 400 million, we have to exponentially increase to ensure that we're able to feed them. Now, the second thing that we need to think about is, how does that food move from the farm gate to the table? How do we get it there? Is it safe? If I produce a basket of tomatoes for 200,000 naira, just, thinking about that. And then I have to spend 1 million to transport that one basket of 200,000 to Lagos to sell it. And then there's no cold chain. And I don't know how many days it's going to take because, the roads are not efficient. What am I doing? That is not business minded. And we need to fix that. We need to fix the supply chain. We need to fix the logistics to get food from the farm gates to the table. Of course, we need to fix how do we ensure that we're not wasting so much food. Now, the third thing that we need to, the third thing now that we need to think about is in the long term. 3 years ago, we're having a project with the FAO and other actors, I think IITA at the time, to attract young farmers to farming. But if the picture that the young farmers or the young people have of the farmer is a poor man or a poor woman with tattered clothes, standing, perennially, needing help, then we're not going to attract that. And today what happens is that the farmer, who is at the bottom of the value chain, is the one who bears the brunt of climate change, the brunt of logistics, the brunt of any risk is on the farmer, who is earning less within that value chain. So there has to be shared responsibilities. And that's a model that we found that works at Nestle. And I hope that we can discuss it. I think that, Kola Masha spoke about it. At the beginning, we were working with Bamangona. We have extended into the dairy value chain. And we have many stories like the story of Samuel. And we can really scale that. It will put just these best practices that we found that works and replicates them at scale, that I think will begin to make a difference in the long term. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Replicating best practices, and some of the best practices have been spoken about. So I'm going to go to the money man, right? The crux of the conversation is that 80% of the food being produced today and being consumed today locally is produced by smallholder farmers. And these smallholder farmers, each time they come to your gates, we hear they don't get funding. We know production is high risk. Situated and managed with a lot of things, climate change, insecurity that has been spoken about. So what can we do as smallholder farmers? I'm going to come from that perspective to you, to be able to access that gate, and not just accessing the gate being opened onto us. What do we need to do?
Thank you. I guess everybody can hear me. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to sit here and talk. As a person, not just a banker, I'm also a farmer, and I've been in engagement with smallholder farmers. And the concern is that access to finance have been pretty difficult. Just the immediate past speaker mentioned something. The smallholder farmer takes almost 80% of the risk in the value chain. I know because the capital we have as a bank, as all people's capital, and their level of risk, you can commit those capitals to. And certain times, this boils down to structuring. You see, some smallholder farmers can work alone. It's important for them to know. As smallholder farmers, you work in association. Link up to an anchor. You understand me? When you link up, I have to see that what you want to produce, first of all, has an already market. It's important. Today, there are a lot of things that have been structured around risk mitigating instruments, right from ecological issues, understand me, to even a lot of things, both insurance, guarantees that can cover this. But most important thing, that the market has to be guaranteed. And when the market has to be guaranteed, I need to look at the anchor himself. Does he have capacity? Does he have proven track record? Take example, if a flour mill today can aggregate 1,000 farmers and say, cultivate maize for me, and there's a guarantee they're going to offtake it. If I look at the principle of what is behind that, there's nothing stopping me from funding smallholder farmers. It's important that we begin to aggregate these smallholder farmers. They are scattered around, not contiguous. So it's high risk for you to monitor everybody scattered around. But if they are contiguous and they are together as a group, and there's an anchor ready offtake of what you are producing, financing can flow in there. I know one of the major challenges, apart from financing itself, is the cost of the financing. And it's very important we speak to that cost of financing. Very important. And there are a lot of things that we can do to make sure that we average this cost out and blend the financing. That's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So it is evident that I, as Dari, an individual farmer, smallholder farmer, cannot benefit from you as a banker.
So I would like to categorize that because we will have to classify everybody as smallholder farmers. And now we have to look at it. See, there's farming as a social habit. There's a farming as a business. A smallholder farmer with 2 hectares. First concerns him, first of all, is his family. It's what is left over that he wants to take to the market. There's a smallholder farmer with a 6 hectare. is cultivated, like Babanguna has spoken, and it's cultivated solely for a demand. Maybe it's just planting maize, it's just planting soya, it's just buying millet, and there's a market for it. We can look at it. Apart from commercial bank playing that role in that particular bank, there are microfinances and agencies who can fund those through value chains. It's important that a smallholder farmer, as far as we can see the direction, we can get the funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it is very clear, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that for you to be able to access funds within this value chain of agriculture that we talk about, cannot come in silos. You have to be in teams, in groups, in cooperatives, and of course you need to find a demand or a market, as the case might be, before we can then progress. So a similar question I'm going to throw back to Madam Victoria. I know that you take quite a large volume, of course, if not one of the biggest, in a number of arable crops, from maize to soybean and the likes. So my question to you is, what's the biggest gap between taking from, probably very established farmers and smallholder farmers? What's the biggest gap? And can it be filled by smallholder farmers?
So I would like to just follow what the banker has said, that the model that we found that works, and we've replicated it across maize, against sorghum, soybean, palm, cassava, is aggregation, right? So in our system, recorded in our system, we have over 46,000 smallholder farmers, but we do not take products or grains or whatever from them directly. So we have aggregators who work with them. And because the aggregators work with them, it's relationship based. So can smallholder farmers take over from the aggregators? I do not think so. But what we found is that working through the aggregators, so they are subsidizing inputs to the smallholder farmers who supply to them. There is a relationship that exists, and this relationship has been on for over 25 years, before I even joined Nestle, who is over 60 years in Nigeria. So it's been going on for years, and we've seen the aggregators, mother handing over to sons, fathers handing over to sons and daughters, and it's been on and on, so it's relationship based. And what this does is that there's historic, because one other thing that's important is traceability. We need to know where each material that goes into production comes from, because that way you can guarantee the quality and you can trace back in case there's any challenge that you need to fix. Now, the model is not putting pressure on the farmer to pay back cash to the aggregator. So he pays in grains. So his produce, as a guarantee, there is an agreement, and usually the agreement is signed, a tripartite agreement, because Nestle takes from the aggregator and the aggregator takes from the farmers. And because we've worked with the farmers to ensure that they have premium products, we pay premium prices, but we also tie that to the existing market rate. So we want to buy in March, we'll look at the market, what is being sold in the market, and that's guaranteed. But they have guaranteed offtake for 5 years, for 10 years. So they're going to keep producing. And the aggregator is investing, seed, fertilizer, mechanization, all of that is done. And then the aggregator aggregates and ensures quality, sorting, everything is done that way, and then is sent to Nestle. That is what we found that works. So can an individual farmer make this happen? I don't think so. I go to events and someone says, oh, we produce maize. And I'm like, what quantity of maize do you produce? First of all, who are you working with? So imagine if we had to take from all the 46,000, it's inefficient. It's not going to work. The logistics will be a nightmare. So that aggregation, working in cooperatives, that is what works. And that way you can bring financing. That way you can bring training. That way you can bring support. That way you can mitigate risk, because everybody is working together. That's what we found that works.
Thank you so very much. Please, can we give her a round of applause? I think we're making headway. I'm happy that Prince is wearing 2 hats, so I'm going to be speaking to you as the government person here, sir. Hope you don't mind. So a critical question that has just been raised from the 2 persons who spoke just now is, if our farmers are not in groups, they will and they cannot get some form of support. So what's the role of the government in ensuring that we can provide data of groups, of cluster, or create some form of structure around smallholder farmers so that they'll be able to access some of these beautiful incentive and funding and opportunities that exist?
Well, mostly the government always allow farmers, especially the smallholders farmers, in cluster forms or to form a cooperatives. And I believe every ministry in every state have a cooperative department. That if there's going to be any farmer that's going to benefit from any assistance from the government, that there must be cooperative in a cluster forms. Just like what my sister have said. Yes, it's not easy to control some of these stakeholder farmers, especially the kind of crops they are planting. I believe she will go down to the farm to find out the kind of pesticides they are using, the insecticide they are using, the kind of seed that they are planting. So they will not just take anything from the farmer just because that's a farmer that wanted to sell their produce. So definitely, yes, all farmers are always advised to be in a cluster forms, especially in the cooperative forms.
Okay, thank you very much. So all farmers must be within that context to be able to benefit from big industry players such as this. So, Dr. David, a critical question to you, and I think one that I love so very, very much. We often use the word, I think it's a buzzword now, climate smart agriculture, climate smart agriculture. And I'm glad that, you have a very techie resort. I will be visiting very soon, by the way. Right? So my question is, in relation to smallholder farmers, what is climate smart agriculture? Is it achievable to the, very smallholder farmer we are currently discussing?
Yes. It is very, very achievable. But like you said, and everybody has said, it has to be structured. So the major challenge we have in Nigeria is that, everybody just wants to continue to operate independently. And it's not really helping the matter. So we have to learn to work as a team. We have to learn to work in groups. And this issue of climate, smart agriculture, of course, the kind of equipment, that are used, to predict weather and to support farmers in achieving climate smart backed up support for farmers. They are not things that most individuals can access. I just returned from the Bahamas, and the first place I went to, because we're planning to establish farms over there, was their Institute of Meteorological, So when we come to that point, to first realize that, okay, we need to know what the climate is saying about what we're going to the farm for. Everybody just wakes up and goes to the farm, and we all suffer for it. So, but it has to be structured. So we can have a group of farmers and then somebody from, the climate department to come and mentor, tutor them, about what the climate is saying at the moment for their region, because it's also regional.
But is it cheap? Can it be accessed?
It's not cheap. It can be assessed with groups. For individuals, it might be very, very difficult. But if we're working as a group, that's the major thing here. All farmers just need to learn to work together. One tree cannot call itself a forest. We have to come together to become the forest that Nigeria needs. And that's still about working in groups. So then we can access support, from the departments or organizations in charge of climate, and then they can be able to help and support all the smallholder farmers and give them a direction.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm asking this question just to fill the room in terms of whether we're making progress as a panel in terms of addressing, the topic and food security issue. So I'll ask again, can Nigeria be food secure? Okay, so we're getting lower now. So it means from all of this conversation, it is very clear that we're still struggling, right? So let me ask again, can Nigeria be food secure?
Yes.
The panel is telling me yes, but I'm looking at the audience. They are not telling me yes. Can Nigeria be food secure?
Yes.
Okay, we're making progress. So very quickly, I'll come back to you, Prince. Recently, there were the drive from the government that there is a need for everyone to go back into farming, right? No matter how small. But to my left, they said if I'm not structured, if I am not within some form of bias or some form of groupings, I might not be able to, access them at that level for sale. So 2 questions in one. How do you interpret that to us? One. And the second question will be, Nigeria is not devoid of policy. I think we have very beautiful minds within the ministries. But what has been the missing gap? Today we hear Uncle Borowa came fantastic, but then we hear, success rates less than 10%. Tomorrow we hear it's the GIS scheme. We hear success rate, less than 50%. So what actually the missing link behind the policy, initiation and conceptualization, and then implementation and results and impact as well?
Well, it has to be noted that 80% of the farmers we have today, they reside in rural areas. And who are the farmers? Mostly women. And that's why I always give kudos to women when they're farming. They are really struggling. Really struggling. Because when they go to the bank, they give priority to men more than a woman.
Mr. Otume, they are coming for you from that, yes.
So, yes, there are so many beautiful policies, as we said. But the implementation is always the issue. But it could be solved. Anywhere in the world, you see so many people, they are into family farming, which they call backyard farming in Nigeria. See, family farming, it goes a long way. Even in China, as populated as they are. If you go to most of the places in China, I've been there and I saw it, that even as small as the places, they can hang some of their crops in their balconies. It might be tomatoes, it might be pepper, it might be anything. But if everybody is practicing family farming, there's going to be a reduction of some of this food insecurity, because there's no way a bandit will come to your house to come and attack you. You already have something in your backyard. Maybe poultry or ram or something in your backyard to plant your weedu and okra. So that way, if you're able to do that, you cannot consume everything. You will consume and take the rest to the neighboring flea market, which is what they call a modern market for people that cannot even produce their stuff. So they go to there and buy. So I will always encourage people to go into the family farming, that way to reduce the food security.
Okay, thank you very much. Encouraging all of us to do some form of backyard farming. So apart from being a farmer myself, right, within the current context of where I reside, where there are no opportunities for land and things, and of course I'm a tenant there, I don't own the house. So I do some farming. I know in the last 3 months, at least every single day I've been harvesting in the minimum about 20, every single day about 10 pepper bell, and then I've been doing tomatoes as well. Of course, the leafy vegetable are the easiest because they have a very shorter life cycle and things like that. So yes, please, we support you, but we'll come back to you. So Madam Vikira, there is a very big distinct between sustainability, which is one of the things you drive. And then when you engage smallholder farmers, that conversation always comes up. Oh, you have to be sustainable. You have to be sustainable in terms of practices and all that kind of things. So the question is, who pays for the sustainability? Because sometimes this has to do with the use of land, the use of labor, the use of resources within. So who bears the brunt, or who needs to pay? Is it just left in your definition earlier on? 80% of the risk lies in their hands. So who bears that particular cost?
Thank you. That's a very beautiful question. And that's another word that has become a buzzword, sustainability. So it seems like such a big, huge thing. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is just doing things today to meet your needs today, while ensuring that the how is not jeopardizing your ability to have access in the future. So as a sustainability practitioner, I got one surprise, and the surprise is that what we used to do in Africa actually were better for sustainable farming than what we were taught to do by those who came to teach us to do them for commercial purposes. So today we have a project called Regen Agriculture, Regenerative Agriculture. And Doctor spoke about, even forecasting weather. We had our local technology that helped the local farmers to forecast what would happen tomorrow, the next day, and in 3 weeks. They knew they had that technology. But we're losing most of these. And what we're coming back to teach within our ecosystem, which is Africa, is regenerative agriculture. And that includes cross-cropping, allowing the land to rest after a number of years, including different kinds of crops on the same farm for biodiversity. And these are things that our people were doing. So in our work with the local farmers, we actually need to relearn the local technology and then understand how we can scale it. So when we talk about sustainability in farming, we're telling them, this is what you can do to ensure that tomorrow this piece of land is still able to produce. Now we're also talking about how do you reduce the use of chemicals and use more bio or an ecosystem-friendly pesticides and all of that to ensure that you're not destroying the land. And also, if you're talking about that, you're also talking about the aquifer water system that all these chemicals keep going into and all of that. And all of that helps to build a healthy ecosystem that is not just about the crops, but about what is under the ground and what the ground is able to produce in the long term. So who pays for it? I think we need to disabuse our minds from the buzzword and tell them, let's go back to doing this. Let's do it this way. Let's do it that way so that we can have this. And what we found in the Regen Agric, we had a pilot 2 years ago. We had the farmers themselves say, okay, now we can go back to this because we see the impact that has. And that also has to do with no ridge farming, no till farming, reducing burning, using the compost from the other production, and also introducing some animals and cover trees within your farm to ensure that we're creating a system that our children can enjoy in the long term. As somebody personally who loves nature, I don't think that we can continue to live in the concrete jungles that we live in. We can continue to cut down all the trees in our way when we're farming, and we think that that's the way to ensure that we're able to farm in the long term. It won't work. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is ensuring that we're farming, we're eating, we're managing our waste in a way that does not put the future at risk. That's it. We need to just demystify that word.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm still going to stay with you because I still need some clarity. Rather than use urea, use NPK. Sorry for those of us who are not fully agreed. NPK, the usual nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium fertilizer. Urea, of course, a nitrogen providing fertilizer as well. So probably costs about 40,000 or 50,000 per bag, depending on where and when you're buying, right? Mm-hmm. But then to get compost, so a typical example, so I'll give you a typical example. 1 hectare farm, 1 hectare size is a football field, so it gives you context as to what that is, right? Probably we use about, if we're fair enough, maybe you use about 8 to 10 bags, a mix of urea and NPK for a maize farm. But then if I have to do the same using compost, which is much more in terms of sustainability they are dealing with, I need probably a ton to use on my farm. A ton means I'm bringing almost maybe 10 or 15 tractors. Not tractors, a trailer, yes, to come dump that there. If our chairman happens to have his house not too far from me, I'm sure he will report me to the government because of the smell that accompanies that. So in speaking around sustainability, and that's where the cost again comes in. How it's going to cost me cheap to just buy 10 bags of NPK and urea and use rather than, having to pay a significant amount for haulage, to get all these things in. So how do we balance, not now the buzzword, but the reality of sustainability and then the cost in how we address it in relation to smallholder farming?
I think that it's not a job or something that you can achieve in one day because we have other practices. And it doesn't mean that when you use NPK and you use urea, that you cannot use them safely. It is a time of application, and it's how you apply and the quantity. Because sometimes, even in the leafy vegetables that you speak about, and you use urea and all of that, and you don't allow it to grow for the number of months that you need to allow it to grow. So it doesn't absorb all of that, and it doesn't go back into the soil. So you will consume it. So we're thinking about your health, first of all. So that's important. One part of it is, this is what we have right now, but this is where we need to go. So you start making a plan. What if, close to the farmlands, the local government decides that that's where you should compost bio waste, food waste, and all of that. And then it's well segregated, so you can always have access, and it's close to where the farmlands are. So it goes to what we spoke about earlier, where somebody talked about planning, processing, structuring. That is where we need to go. And that is the kind of planning that we need to put into the 10-year roadmap that he spoke about, the 10-year roadmap. We need to think in the long term. We are too much about thinking in the short term. And there is nothing that you can achieve. I mean, doctor and all of you are farmers. You know that I'm not a good farm parent. I mean, plant parent, so I'm not a farmer yet. But there is a system that you have to put in place. There is training that has to go into it. You don't just give someone fertilizer and then he just puts it in there. How does that fertilizer affect the crop? How long do you need to need the crop for it to absorb all of the fertilizer and not be harmful to the human? We have to think about the health impact. There are so many things that are happening in our environment because we're not paying attention to these things. It's not just about food. It's about your health. It's about your water. It's about your ecosystem. It's about the air that you breathe. It's all of that. So that is the real cost. So who pays for it? Today we say that it is the farmer, the smallholder farmers, maybe like you, who will bear the brunt of the cost. But what if we create an ecosystem and there's an off-taker of that product? Who de-risks it? Who funds it? Who shares the risks with you? That is the way that it works. And that's the way that is working in our projects. And we've been able to achieve this in various value chains: maize, sorghum, soya, cassava, palm oil, and now in dairy. And it is working.
Thank you very much. So I'll come to Prince very shortly. But Prince, I just want to know what's the government perspective to sustainability and how are we going to be able to drive that? But before that, I'm going to go to Utomi. Utomi, we've talked a lot around blended financing and what needs to happen for smallholder farmers. NISA was created to de-risk. BO is coming up. Every other person is coming up. But in real conversations, right, what do we need to do differently to ensure or to attract, should I say, to ensure that your funds that you have does not just stay in the bank, but you would really want to give it out? So what needs to happen differently, either from the top or from the bottom?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, let me make a comment to the question you asked Prince before about policies. And the first thing I have to say, for all government officials, we should remove politics from policies.
Please, can you look at Prince when you're saying that?
We should remove politics from policies. That is very important. Listen, Nigeria is not devoid of system. The problem we have that we have systems that are not working. There are a lot of development funds that have been deployed in this country. But where did these funds end up? You see, as of last year, you have the National Assembly doing a lot of audits, 20 years audit of development funds that happened. What is the outcome? Who has heard about it? Now, government is establishing agencies upon banks, development bank, agricultural banks. They are bringing out funding. What is the strategy to deploy this fund? How do we monitor that this fund needs to get to where it needs to get to? It's important we begin to say, the normal commercial funding cannot help agriculture because of the nature of the capital. And we must understand it. Round about the world, people who have traveled would see the most important subsidy that can be given by government at any point in time is the subsidy at the level of production. If that subsidy does not exist there, you are going to disrupt the system. So for me as a bank, first of all, when you talk about the capitals that are available, the farmers, how do we make sure these things happen? I have to do what I have to do. What rings in my head, first of all, is risk. And what rings in my head to make sure that every money I give out comes back. You understand me?
With interest.
Every money I give out, first of all, I must have an eyesight how the money is going to come back. And if I'm not convinced that this money I'm deploying will come back, what do? I hold it back. Because it's not my money. It's someone's money. And most of those money, everybody, when they were speaking, okay, I will put it in terms that you need a slot funding, not a JITA funding. And how do I mean by slot funding? You know slot, how slowly they work. Which means it takes time. A JITA is a speed. The kind of capital that's available to commercial banks are JITA funding. they come in and immediately they are running away. So you need that kind of slow funding, which necessarily will come from DFIs, development partners, government agencies, because what we'll see also when government deploying funds is that they need the expertise of the commercial banking system to deploy those funds. We need those kind of capitals, and you must be able to partner with banks, have an understanding with all the risking instruments to make sure that this funding gets to where it needs to get to. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So it is very clear. If you try to start up your farm or scale your farm with commercial funding, I'm sure you'll need a medical doctor after 2 years. So a word is enough for the wise. You said what we should survive in?
I said if you survive the 2 years.
Okay, if you survive the 2 years. Okay. So, Prof, a quick one. Around sustainability, we know it comes with some added costs. But if we look at some of the conversation had by Mrs. Victoria, it is clear that it is what we need if we want the same land to give us the same or a higher yield. Of course, we got the data earlier on, and Nigeria were a little bit far apart in terms of comparing average yield of our significant arable crops compared to some other nations. So is there a role that the government is intending, if already playing, to see that while we're supporting smallholder farmers with a number of incentive, sustainability is at heart and we're able to support that cost? That's one part of it. The second part of the question is in terms of not being political with our policies. Do we have the required and the right data that says Dr. Moji is a smallholder farmer, Utomi is a smallholder farmer, right? And at the point of implementation, particularly when it has to do with disbursement of any kind, whether cash or kind, it then becomes Madam Victoria is the farmer, Dr. Moji is not the farmer. Can you ration that out in terms of data, sir?
Yes, I will start from the last one. Yes, there's always a data when you go to the ministries. When you go to any government establishment, that is why they say they deal with cooperatives. They deal with the clusters. So every farmers, every stakeholders in any farming, in any state must be registered. And without all this information on the desk of the government, there's no way they will know who is the farmer. So the information must be there in order for it to be sustainable. And I'm going back to my brother, the financial institutions. I believe they are most of the problem that farmers have. I'm a living witness and I have so many experience with them that when some of these funds is being given to the banks to be given to the farmers, most of them are being diverted to real estate. We know this, and I know this. And there will be no policy without politics. People have to sit down with this policy. The problem is just the implementations of the policy. So without politics, there won't be no policy. So let us agree with ourselves that everybody have a role to play, both the financial institutions, individual, and the government. I'm not saying the government doesn't have their own setback. Yes, they do. And when you talk of the government, we are the government. It's when you get there, maybe you're MHR or you're Senate, you have to pass the law. So you're part of the government. Everybody sitting here are part of the government. So everybody have got a role to play for the sustainability of any stakeholders in farming in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I would have loved to Tome to respond, but not yet. Dr. Moji, a critical one now. Of course, we've had conversations around how the government has done this and how the government has done that. And we're happy, by the way, by great institutions such as Nestle and the likes who help our farmers in off-taking. My question to you is, because you are a good production person that I know, why is it, or what do we need to do differently as smallholder farmers? I'll give a typical example. We were funding a scheme, or we're supporting a scheme from the government, one of the government, where they were providing inputs in terms of feed, poultry feed to be precise, and aquaculture feeds, right? And each farmer was eligible to pick just about 15 bags in relation to what your capacity was. But then we discovered, and this was done via cooperatives. But then we discovered that the head of the cooperative will come with names that are not even members in the cooperative. That's one. Now, for some people who also then received some of those things, because they received at a significantly reduced price, they were selling it behind. Now, the government has done their part in creating some form of subsidy. But here as farmers, we are now the ones circumventing the process. So what needs to be done differently from our own side in terms of a lot of these interventions that are being deployed?
I think accountability is key here. Because at the end of the day, there is no support coming from either the government or even from international bodies that is going to come straight to the farmers, the grassroots farmers. It has to pass through a certain process. So the people in charge of those systems and processes have to be accountable. We have to get to a point in Nigeria where we know that there is a difference between public funds and your personal money.
Smallholder farmers, anything coming from the government is our national cake.
So accountability comes from the head, and then the people themselves, the farmers themselves. There has to be a mind shift, a mindset shift. Because when you're given this, you even see in some conferences like this, there will be intervention funds and all. And, there will be opportunity for people to get loans, and they will be insisting they don't want loans. They want grants because they already know what they intend to do with the grant that is not going to come back.
So who should drive that mindset change?
It comes from the top.
The top?
Yes.
Which top?
Who is the funds channeled to? Okay. There is a body that is bringing the disbursement to the grassroots farmers, right? So those ones first have to be accountable, so that when you are putting your uncle's name and your sister-in-law's name in the list, you already know that you're going to be held accountable for this thing. And then you will also pass the accountability down to the farmers you are disbursing the money or the support towards. So if everybody knows there's going to be a jail term or there is something really serious coming out as a result of not managing the funds that are given to them well, everybody will sit tight.
So in essence, all players within the sector play a role in ensuring the sustainability of that sector, particularly in this sector called Agri, where we are in. I don't know, can anybody give me a signal in terms of my timing? I just need to know. Yes. Okay. All right. I need to wrap up. So before I get to my final question, I'll probably just throw this question to Utomi now. Then I will come back here. Now, we've stressed a lot around funding, around, loans and facilities available to smallholder farmers. So if we come to you as a cooperative, and then we've met with Madam Victoria, who is able to offtake everything we're going to produce. So in economics, we'll say, what's the minimum value, or what's the minimum quantity, or what's the minimum amount that will make us break even, for example. And we say, give or take, it's about 1,000 hectares that we need to cultivate. For you as a bank, how do you view our request? Must it reach a certain threshold before it is funded? Or considering that all other risk factors have been fully mitigated and presented to you, is there a threshold? Can I just come and say I want 1 million naira? Or for you, it must be a 10 billion, like we hear for BOI, for example. If it's not a huge facility, being established, then you are not eligible for that.
Thank you so much. I see the question you have thrown to me is very fantastic, but I won't answer it this way. Every need has to make economic sense, not just to the bank, even to the person who is making the request. If somebody is making a request for 1 million today, and we're going to do a forth and back, go get this document. The transportation already worries has exceeded 1 million. So because definitely in conversation about financing, there are a lot of discussions that goes on. There are a lot of documentations that goes on. So it has to make economic sense. For a gathering of 10 people, 20 people, you understand me, who wants to supply a corporate, who has guaranteed? Let me say for Nestle, I don't think Nestle is dealing anything when he's dealing with a group, maybe he's dealing minimum 100 million. Except if they get too much fragmented, they might lose focus. They want them aggregated. So when they are making that decision, it becomes easier for them to do. So when you're having that kind of conversation with a group, that makes economic sense to both us and them. Because apart from being a banker that I want to lend, also I have an understanding of finance. That not just telling I'm giving you money, I have to educate you that this does not make economic sense to you when it doesn't. And also, if it makes economic sense to both you, because the relationship is symbiotic and mutually beneficial. So we must understand this. So when the request comes, I can assure you if it's coming from a group, it will make economic sense. That's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So as I wrap up, because I need you to also give me your parting words, so I'll just start from you, Tommy, since you have the mic. You have the opportunity to speak with the Honorable Minister of Agri today, and he is guaranteed to listen to what you will say. How would you advise him in relation to the next 3 years?
Okay, first of all, I know everybody has spoken, but there's something very vital. I'm a researcher. See, in this country, I don't know when food audit was done last. You have to start from food audit. You see, all the data that we are speculating around is just based on speculation. 40% goes to food loss. When it gets to the factory, we are having it goes to food waste. We have a food loss in the factory. And we have a small number of lands that are not cultivated and so on. Nobody has done that audit. You see, we are talking of food security. Are we sure that Nigeria is not producing enough for the country today? I can tell you last year, I have a customer who brought two trailers of tomato to a market. He couldn't sell. They asked him to take your tomato away. He abandoned it in the market because the cost of taking it away outweighs it. So, and you said there's no food security. There are certain things, basic things that we need to do in the country to understand whether we are producing enough food. Where we have a challenge is infrastructure. So when that audit is done, we can be able to say, this is where we are going to. And that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So, Madam Victoria, the same question to you.
Thank you. A few things that we need to do. So today he's talked about an audit because we need to have a baseline. If you don't know what you're solving for, if you even arrive at the solution, you would have no idea. So we need to know, where are we? And then the second thing that I'll say to the government is that, yes, we have infrastructure in place. I mean, we have policies in place. And like the PEMSEC spoke about the distribution of some incentives. And, we've talked about, loans and grants and all that come into the system. How are they used? I think that we have to put in place a system of accountability with set targets. And any incentive that comes that needs to go to the farmers cannot be free of charge. Because anything that is free of charge, like you said, becomes a national cake. So we need to be more intentional about our planning around agriculture, ensure that all the stakeholders are involved in the discussions, and we have an accountability structure in place. There must be a target. In Nestle's value chain, for instance, with every intervention, whether it's training or input or anything, there is a target. So you must increase your productivity by X%. You must increase this by X%. The aggregator has to buy at X% more, and all. There must be a system of accountability put in place all the way from the government, because I think that when these funds come in, they come through the government. But I would like to also digress. I would like to say that private organizations you've seen what John Vance is doing, what Olam is doing, what Nestle is doing, what FMN is doing, what different parties are doing, what Kola Masha's company is doing, Babangona. I think if we have more people doing the same kind of work, learning from templates that are already proven to work, then we can make more progress. Because when there is demand, the supply will follow. Where there is demand, the supply will follow. So let's stop looking for funding, free money. Let's start looking at productivity. And when it makes economic sense, the investment will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I come to Prince, I'll go to Dr. Moji Davids. The same question to you. Have that opportunity. What would you let him know?
So I'll speak from the grassroots farmer's perspective. What an average farmer out there needs today is confidence and assurance in different forms. Number one, confidence of security and safety. If I go to the farm, will I come back? Secondly, if I go to plant all these crops or rear all these animals, do I have a guaranteed offtake arrangement? Will I be able to sell? If we are able to take the problem of sourcing for market off the farmers and let them just concentrate on producing, it gives a lot of confidence. Then there is also the issue of price control, which is driving a lot of farmers away and discouraging them. If I farm today and I hear that the cassava per ton is X amount, and I come back before 9 months, 10 months is harvested, the price has gone down. And I've already invested a lot of that. Who bears the loss? So we need confidence, security-wise, even infrastructure-wise, price control, market sourcing, you understand? And then post-harvest loss is a big problem. Like my brother from Union Bank said, a lot of people are saying we have food insecurity in Nigeria, but we honestly need to ask ourselves. If you go to the marketplaces today, you see how many tons of food is wasted every day. I think the problem at the moment is not really food insecurity, it's food affordability. Because these foods are getting wasted because a lot of people can't afford it. So how do we balance that, and give the farmers the confidence that whatever is coming out from their farms is going to return? Already, it's already bad that if you're investing into farming, you can't make more than 20-25%, on whatever that you're doing. So, but then when you now lose over 50% to post-harvest loss, then how do we balance that? So it's just confidence. Our confidence level as farmers need to, be guaranteed by both the government and even, everybody in the community. And I want to leave with this parting word. If you're in this economy today, as a Nigerian, and you're having anything to do with food, I'm so thankful to what companies like Nestle and the other people are doing. They are into the food value chain. So they do not see themselves as just waiting to take from the farmers. They are also putting something into the farmers. They are investing time, seed, input, training, and all that, even the off-taking as well. If we have a lot of companies that are also, doing that, then it will improve a lot on what the farmers are getting. Then can we also have an institutionalized approach to funding for farmers? Now, let's not even talk about funding as it relates to borrowing. I'm a Christian, and I know a lot that goes on within the Christendom, and I know the amount of wealth being managed by the pastors. Can we have a replication of that as it relates to farming in Nigeria? Can we begin to have bodies that can take money from the public and be accountable and let it work for farming without any interest on it? You begin to see that there will be a lot of changes. Thank you so much.
I didn't know. Taking money without interest. If you take my money, I don't give me interest, sir. I will not be happy with you. It's another discussion. It's another discussion. All right. So I think finally I'll go with Prince, but I think Prince, I will switch your question a little bit because you are government. And then your question would be, sir, what needs to happen between now and 2027 to put us in the path to food security? What needs to happen, either from the government perspective, private sector perspective, across the value chain? What needs to happen for us to be on that path to food security?
Well, I believe the insecurity is always the issue, and it's only the government that can solve it, because when you go to the farm, you are not sure of coming back home. Definitely, it puts a risk on the food security. But I believe that most Nigerians will believe in speculations. Even the federal government does not even know how many of citizens they are feeding as of today. Just like what my brother said, that is very, very important. When was the last time we did our census to even know how many people we have in Nigeria? We keep on speculating in Lagos that the population of Lagos is 25 million, it's 30 million. And if a population census is being taken, you'll be surprised that population in Lagos alone would be more than 50 million. But when you look at the people trooping into the state when nobody is checking them, then another one is just about funding. It's very important. There's nothing wrong if the government can give out some grants, or if the loan is going to be there, let it be very, very low, like 2% or 2.5% that is being taken in all over the other country. And at the same time, the smallholders farmers need to be really well taken care of, because they are the ones that are producing. When you look at the mechanization in this country, it's more or less like about 5 to 10%. So what happened to the 90 or 95% of people doing the farming? These are the rural farmers that need to be taken care of. So as I said, all hands must be on deck, individually, collectively, and with the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for our great panelists. A lot has been said in relation to what needs to happen for us to be on that path to food security. Picking from the parting words of all our panelists, we hear there is need for us to have some sort of an institution, a marketing board, to support pricing so that farmers can be significantly protected, particularly when there are gluts or shortfalls in prices. There needs to be an immediate food audit to determine in retrospect whether we need to produce more or we need to manage what we have actually produced. From the presentation earlier, I did say that 50% of what is being produced is being lost by virtue of post-harvest loss. So if we're able to manage that, do we necessarily have to produce more or see ways to ensure that we can reduce post-harvest loss significantly? Other actions that were said is we need to look into our data. A lot of the data that we all push out today are seemingly old or archaic and do not fit the current narrative. And so when we use those data, right, to determine what we do, it creates a lot of gap. And I think those are the gaps we are seeing now. And then I think finally, we said that the system of driving food security is one that requires a concise and an accountable system. That is not just a function of the government, but it's a function of you and I. So that when next we see a person who is giving food on this table and refuses to finish that food, we should, as Nigerians, call them back to have that food finished. Because those are data that gives us that element of waste that we're talking about. So distinguished guests, distinguished panelists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for the time that we've had to seemingly put some thought-provoking words in your heart, but more importantly, to tell you of a fact that food security is indeed possible in Nigeria. Thank you very much. So at this time, I don't know if there are specific questions. You could direct it to any member of the panelists. Okay, already I see hands. If a PAMSEC is raising his hands, what are we to do here? But sir, we'll come to you very quickly. We have 2 questions behind. Then we'll come to Nosoya. Please, let's make our question very brief, straight to the point. We'll encourage you to do that. Straight to the point, please. And just tell us your name. It would be nice to meet you.
Yes, Idowu Ademola is my name.
Are you a farmer, sir?
I'm a typical farmer for more than 25 years.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Awesome. Please go ahead.
I've played across different value chains,
okay,
both in the north and in south.
Awesome.
I've come to realize that farmers, local farmers, smallholder farmers, have 3 problems. And I think one of the major problems of smallholder farmer is aggregating them, providing markets. Market has always been a problem of a smallholder farmers. Number 2, government policies, some assorted policies of government that changes time to time. In the last 2-3 years, farmers were enjoying. Farmers were clapping today. Enjoying. Go to my villages, you see them buying cars, enjoying. Today now, everything has come down due to government policy. Number 3 is ability to be able to localize technology. Because you talk of climate smart agriculture, sustainability, and the rest of it. These are big grammar to a local farmer. How do you localize, how do you domesticate those climate smart agriculture practices to suit the production and enhance their production level? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very fantastic question. We'll just take all the questions and then we'll allocate them accordingly to our panelists. Thank you very much for those questions.
Good morning, esteemed colleagues. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. My name is Samuel Paul, and I represent FOI Global Investments. So this is a great discourse here, and I would like to say that I recently did a research on smallholder productivity in Nigeria, and that paper was, adopted by the AFDB for presentation on their platform. Now, if we are talking about investment, I still feel that we need to hammer on access to credit. I still feel that we need to hammer on access to credit. Mr. Patutomi, sir, in this present time...
You're not Patutomi.
Sorry. I beg your pardon, Mr. Otomi. So in this present time, the group structure of that accompanies access to credit is not, giving that result. It's not giving enough results. So I'm talking from the point of financial inclusion as preached by the CBN. Please, Are there better credit systems that financial institutions can design? That is one. Two, eventually, when these smallholder farmers, access credit, there's often the concern that they may divert funds into non-farming activities. So how do you monitor the efficiency of, these disbursed funds? And lastly, on the government front, sir, Nigeria has launched several schemes to bridge the financing gap agric-wise. But despite these efforts, the results are so low. Farmers, rely on informal lenders. They rely on family members, and they also rely on cooperative. Please, how can the government do better? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, probably just quickly take these questions. Is there one more? Okay, we'll take that finally, and then we'll just... Oh, there's still a lot. Okay, so do we do it this way? We'll take it in rounds, right? And then we come back to you. So let's just allow us just take this set of questions, and then we'll come back to you, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we'll start with finance. So you heard all your questions, so maybe let's go with you.
First of all, I want to say this. Smallholder farmers, market is very important. One of the challenges we have witnessed over the 10, 15 years is a challenge that, there's much money in maize this year. In next year, all the farmers will rush to plant maize. Then, the people that planted cassava last year, they made a lot of money. The next following year, all farmers will go and plant cassava. So, and when you are doing this, you are disrupting markets. You must understand it. Now, when it comes to financing, that's why I say, we're all banks, very important. But also, all banks must be able to have professionals who manage certain desks. What does a farmer need money for? Number one, land preparation. Number two, your input. Number three, maintenance. Number four, harvest. These 4 stages. If a group of smallholder farmers comes to me, I will have to see who is preparing their land. I am not giving them cash. I will pay the land preparer. He will do that. Who is supplying your input? I will give the person money to ensure they don't divert it. Who is doing maintenance? I can give you money for maintenance because you're looking just maintain maybe 10% of the total cost. Harvest, you are taking a 20%. Who is harvesting for you? How are you harvesting? I pay that money. And once your harvest is done, what happens? There's a sales, and my money nests out. So all we have to do that whenever the right conversations are not happening, and we need to start engaging in the right conversations with the financial institutions, with the fund custodians. So when we sit at the round table, there are certain things that people say, I need credit. You think that the bank will just approve credit and credit your account. It doesn't work that way. And because the bank does not approve the credit and credit your account, you think the access of finance is not there. We need to sit down and have these right conversations, and everything will work out fine. That's very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, please go ahead.
You have your... Thank you very much. I think that the one thing I would like to add to that, because the cyclical nature, so one year there's a glut, the next year there is a scarcity and all of that, that is not the sustainable way of doing business. I think there has to be long-term access to markets before you start planting. I always say that production should be demand-led. As long as production is not demand-led, you're going to have a challenge. Because even the bank needs to see the demand that leads your production. I think that if we can incorporate this in our farming, in our planning, as good business people that we are, then I think we'll begin to make headway. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very clear in response to that. Farming is knowledge-driven. Don't just wake up, everybody is on cassava, I'm jumping on cassava. You will eat your cassava, right? So please, it is knowledge-driven, and it is also demand-led, right? These are critical things that have been said. So please, let's use that as a basis if we are going into it. And note, it doesn't just have to do with crop. There is the poultry part, there's the aquaculture part. Today, eggs are very expensive. Everybody now starts to grow. Anyway, they can't even grow layers because it's too expensive. But let's leave it at that. So we'll go to the next question. So to Prince. So I think he spoke a lot around how do we sustain government policy. At the point we had the policy, I think some last year, 2 years ago, that was supporting rice production, paddy production. And then somehow in between, we opened the border and the price crashed. But yet, they had bought input at significantly high prices, and then they can't sell below their cost of production. So really, his question is, how do we sustain that government policy? And the second question, he then asked, okay, I think that's the main question he addressed to the government, and you represent the government, sir.
Well, the government policy have come to stay. And the problem is, I'll keep on saying that we are the problem of ourselves. Well, if the government said that they are banning most of these imported foods, it's we, the citizens that we see come through the border. We have over 1,000 porous borders that are being unmanned by the custom people. But the government, as I always say, they are bodies and they make policies. When you talk of policy, it's meant to be implemented by the people that are put in charge. Though we have few bad eggs on some of these people that are put in charge to disburse this money down to the downturn of the smallholders, farmers. But at the same time, just like what my sister said here, there's no way international bodies or international bank will bring money to the country and go to the grassroots. You see, go through the CBN or from the CBN to the state governors, and before you get to the smallholder farmers, this money is already gone. So I believe there must be a way out where all the smallholders should come up. That's why they always say, go and form a cooperative. And it's either you go to the Bank of Agriculture, which is being taken care of by the federal government now, that I think some money was given to the Bank of Agriculture. And Bank of Agriculture is mainly meant for you to clear your farm, to plant, and to buy some of these fertilizers. When you come to the Bank of Industry, which the federal government are even funding a lot, is for the value chains. And the problem we keep on having with ourselves, we don't add value to what we do. Just like what the banker have said, that there's 2 trillion loads of tomatoes. Had it been that there's a place to process these tomatoes, there's no need of taking it back to the north. So the problem is cold chain and value chain addition to some of the products that we are producing.
Will the government support in terms of cold chain development and value addition hubs?
Well, I'm not going to sit down here and lie that, yeah, the government is supporting, especially through the electricity. We all know what the electricity is being done, because without the electricity, there's no way you're going to have a cold chain. So the government have a lot to do also to improve the infrastructures in terms of electricity in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is very rare to see a government official speak this honestly. So thank you very much, sir. So, madam, please, let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate him, at least. They said, let's take away politics from policies. So we are seeing the effect of that happening now. So a direct question to you. I'm a farmer. This is how it's written. And I want to be a member of the cluster. I want to be a member of the cooperative that supplies the aggregator and then supplies you. So what do I need to do?
Okay. So if you are a farmer and you want to be a part of Nestle's value chain, the first thing that you need to provide is your location, so that if we see if you're close to any of the aggregators. Then, of course, there is a quality standard that we will give you, so you know the quality of whichever crop that Nestle requires. And then you will work with the aggregator to see if you have this quality of grains in your system and if he has capacity to absorb you. Now, another thing that you need to know is that with Nestle, you don't already have to be at the required standard, because Nestle has a team working with the aggregators that will work with you to attain that standard. The things that are important are you willing? Do you have the capacity? And are you able to sustain it in the long term? Yeah.
Thank you. So where exactly do I get the initial information from?
Okay. I am here today, so I'm sure the person who is asking is in the house. Just take my details, send me your message, and I'll forward it to the agriculture development team.
Thank you very much. Please, can we celebrate her for that now? It's not often that you get direct access to people like this. So the final one before we go for the second round of questions, how do we localize CSA? Climate smart agriculture. It's to you, Dr.
I'm not a meteorologist, but like I said before, there's a model we have in Extra Large. We have a community of close to 250,000 people who farm, whether directly or indirectly. So we're able to provide training mentoring and support. I think that's the only way it can work for now. Everybody cannot just go and be looking for solutions like our speaker at the back said that's big grammar to the layman farmer in the village. So, but if we have a structure around it and everybody belongs to one group or the other, and then, so you are doing 10 hectares of maize or whatever. Okay, let's even come and check your farm, even to soil testing. A lot of people just go into, like I was saying, we are working on a relationship with Malaysia for oil palm, and we needed 10,000 hectares of land. The funding is there already. Just provide us this land. We have all it takes to see it through. But the lands that were coming up are from areas that are not oil palm supportive. So our people don't even know that it is not everything that you can plant on every soil. It comes from there. Then the weather. It's raining in Lagos doesn't mean it's raining in Oyo State, And then a lot of changes like that. So it has to come in groups for the regions. The training at a national level will not suffice for the grassroots farmer in Kogi and will not be the same for the person in Ogun State. So we have to break it down into regions to meet the immediate climate needs and conditions of the particular regions that we are talking about.
All right, thank you very much. So I can give you 5,000 hectares out of the 10. So we can do the arrangement for the oil palm, right?
To be honest, if you have it, we're in business.
It's just a silly joke. Don't mind me. I don't have that. But I think additionally, in terms of localizing some of these technologies and making very relevant to smallholder farmers, I think it's not far-fetched. We can look some local things. So today we say do not just depend on rain-fed. Do a little bit of dry season or irrigation form of farming. And you say, how do I irrigate? In our local places, we have wells, right? There are simple kickstart pumps today that you just have to use your leg in pumping, and it pumps to that depth and gives you water. If you say you need it as drip, because those are some of the climate, practices that we are promoting, you could get your usual PVC that doesn't cost so much and create just small perforations underneath it, and then it moves. So it can actually be localized, right, with the simple tools, that we have. We talk about pesticide use and things like that. A lot of us have the neem leaves around us, Azadiracha indica, pawpaw, papaya around us. Some of these things are just what you need to soak overnight in a bowl. It becomes perfect insecticide for you, right? So these things are there. It can be localized. It can be used. But like you said, training is key for us to be able to really localize this into our location. So thank you very much for those questions. So I know we have some hands, so maybe with all due respect, I would like to start with from our permanent secretary, Dr. Sir.
Where's the mic?
Yes, I think he's bringing the mic. I'll just, Doc, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much. Yes, I want to talk about the issue of commodity exchange. And I think is something that is very key to Nigeria. Because when farmers get cyclical fluctuations in their produce or products, then they run away. And when price increases, they go there. But with commodity exchange, I think it will be a welcome development. But when we are talking about commodity exchange, we are really talking about what a commodity exchange does. And there's a commodity exchange in Africa that has done well, and that's the Ethiopian commodity exchange. I think is one area that we need to study. Yes, we have Lagos commodity exchange and so on, but I do not think they have done that as well as what we have in Ethiopia. For example, Ethiopia commodity exchange has 55 warehouses. They have their agronomists, animal scientists, and so on. So you can see that they are on ground. They have extension officers. This is what you do. And they guarantee minimum prices. Yes, market analysis, market demand does how they do their price. But farmers get full labor of their prices. And then the second one, is the issue of agricultural extension. When she was talking about localizing all these big jargons on climate change, climate smart agriculture, we have also neglected agricultural extension. These are people that are trained to ensure that farmers get technologies like drip irrigation, like all technologies, soil testing, how do you sample your soil, and many other things. And I think apart from training, agricultural extension is also key. Thank you. Just a comment.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nosaya. I think very germane conversation. So can we take the next set of questions? So we've done two, and of course I see a lady's hand, so you can understand. So please, can you help me get the mic to her, and then we'll come here.
Somebody's talking.
Someone's talking? Where? I can't cite the person. Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Oparocha, and I represent Eze George Production. Now, we've spoken so much about food security and the need for us to actually sustain our agricultural produce. But then most times you realize that when we export primary produce, and most times we just take them from the farm and we export, and we are usually happy about it. So there has actually been the need for us to add value to it. And I know recently the government mentioned about 0% duty on agric machinery. But when it comes to the implementation, it's almost like nobody can actually help you out. So my question is actually to the banker. What are the processes that one needs to follow to ensure that you can actually get to maybe that 0% when it comes to agricultural machineries? Because basically, if we actually want to move forward, we need to start producing and adding value to our agricultural produce. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please, in the interest of time, can we just come to the lady on the left? Here, yes, just here. Sorry, we are out of time, so we just have to do this very quickly. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vivian Ewengu, and I have recently moved back to Nigeria, and I'm looking to
Welcome
start
back.
up. Thank you. It's good to be back. And I'm looking to start up a new business, which has to do with processing raw materials, basically, and turning them into a final produce where, it can be used. I would say I've started this research since last year, and just trying to see how I can move forward personally as a young person in this field. I've been to FIRO, I've been to a couple of food agencies, I believe, and I just want to understand within the value chain, also to protect food waste, how can a young person like me move forward? Because I would say I'm lucky enough to have funding internally, but moving forward without really going or without having enough information to help me kind of provides like a building block. Do you understand that? So, yeah, I just want to know what moving forward would look like, what partners are there who we can speak to, the government, private, I don't know, just someone who needs clarity, basically.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So I think the finance question, and then, yes, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Let me start from my brother that talks about too. Processing. It's not a big deal. Why I say it's not a big deal, listen to me. You are doing a forward integration. You already started by exporting primary products. Now you want to take it further. I don't want to export primary product. I want to break it down and add value. Now, talking about financing, I always refer to market. Let me take example, soybeans. People are exporting soybeans. Now, what is the more critical part of it when it gets to Europe, first of all, is soya cake. Now, somebody says, okay, instead of sending me soybeans to process here, export to me the soya cake. What do you need? You need a set plant. So you can press out the water and the oil. Then you export it. Because the market is there, and you have the antecedent that you have been exporting this. What you want to do is do a bit of forward integration and invest in processing. The banks will support you. Certainly. You can talk to me on that if you have that track record. So anytime you are moving to do a forward integration, it's more money for you. I always take that example of soybeans. If you are doing a soybeans and you're exporting the cake, there's oil to sell locally. There are a lot of value chains and things you can create around it, and it makes more money for you. But what happens certain times, why you see financial institutions are not paying attention certain times to those kind of processing, there are a lot of people who does not have the antecedents, or who can't see a track record. It's something you have imagined in your mind, and somebody has tell you that if you invest in this, you will make a lot of money. So it's like a green field. You understand me? So it's difficult for the bank to go and invest in them. So, but I also tell you an example where we can invest in greenfield, which I have done. Somebody worked with a multinational who has been doing things and has come out there as a GM and understands the process. He said, I want to set up my own. And I was funding that multinational he was working for. Now he's setting up his own. He has assistance. He has knowledge. He has the market. I support him to set up his own. But when you must understand, we have to understand where you are coming from and what you want to do. It's very important for us before we can come in. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I think I'd like to add something to that because coming back into Nigeria is a big deal enough, and trying to set up is a bigger deal. So now you've done your investigations, you've gone to FIRO, and fortunately for you, you have funding. So you're asking what's the next thing to do, yeah? The next thing you need to do now is just start. Define your market and go for it. That's the best way. Experience, they say, is the best teacher. You will never get the experience until you start. So just pick on one of the things that you have in mind and just give it a start. You may not need to start so big so that if you lose, you don't lose all your eggs in one basket, but just give it a start. That's the best way to start now.
All right, thank you. So I'll just go for that to say, if you have time and maybe any member of the panelists are still around once, you can engage them. If we have context of what you want to do, we might guide you on where you need to go. To what degree are you processing? Who will you then need? If it's a heavy processing, then you're talking about NAFDAC. NAFDAC requires some kind of structure for you to be able to get this. So a lot of things are involved. So if they have the context of where you're going, you will get the right kind of advice. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please, with a resounding round of applause, can we just have our panelists stand? Thank you so very much for the time. So I pass back to the DJ.
Okay, thank you very much. Please.
Okay, sorry. As the young lady was speaking, it appears that, the feedback she got was just start and watch out. It doesn't work that way. I'm a beneficiary of mentorship. And mentorship took me to where I got to. So I would suggest that she meets, if Nestle is here, PAT is here, Union Bank, I would suggest that either voluntarily or by some structure that somebody should adopt her, or some people should adopt her as mentors and guide her through these rough waters. You can't come back from the US and expect that you know how to cross Falomo Bridge. If you know what I mean. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir. Please, panelists, please remain on stage. I would invite the President and Chairman of Council to just join them for a quick picture. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, sir. We'll still take pictures, sir. President, please return back. No, you can go back to your seats. We'll still come back for the picture. Sir, you can go back. We'll still come back for the pictures, but before then, we have one of our sponsors who will just give a 3-minute goodwill message just for us to wrap that up. We didn't take their videos earlier. I'm going to be calling on Mr. Taiwo Ogunbowale, who is the National Sales and Marketing Manager at Livestock Feeds PLC, to just give us a brief remarks as we wrap up.
Thank you. Distinguished President of the Nigerian-British Chambers of Commerce, industry players here, members of the agri sector, and distinguished guests, esteemed listeners, ladies and gentlemen. We are pleased to be part of this gathering today, especially that it is coming at a very critical time in the life of our country, because we've been able to establish in this meeting today that it's a collaboration for us to succeed. So all of us have a role to play, and we know that by the time the framework of this come forward, it will be able to project us to know as a platform for development that we need to ensure that there is food security. Livestock Feeds PLC has been, for over 6 decades, we have identified the importance of animal nutrition to sustainable food security in Nigeria. And we have played in that space. We have contributed in that space for that number of years. We have been able to cater for your livestock animals, to cater for your nutritional need. We understand that we cannot have a nutritionally secure, a food secure nation without without animal security, animal food security, and we have played in that role. So we want to commend the work that has been done by Nigerian-British Chambers of Commerce, and we want to say that we are proud to have been associated with them. We have played in a lot of other aspects. Also, in our corporate social responsibility, we have done quite a few things to ensure that we support every person's right to protein. There's a program we call it Experience Health, where we support local practitioners to pregnant women in different communities to ensure that they have access to egg. And we all know that egg is essential nutrition for life. So we want to commend Nbcc once again, and we say we are proud to be associated with you for a good job we are doing. And we know that by the time the framework for this forum comes up, we believe that it will be the catalyst that Nigeria as a nation needs to ensure that we project towards sustainable food security. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Livestock Feeds. And now we'll just go on to give the plaques to our panelists and our guest speakers. Mr. President, please, can we have you back on stage? Thank you so much, sir. Please, let's have the plaque for our special guest, Dr. Olaiwole Onosoya, retired permanent secretary, Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture, for his plaque. Please come on stage, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Please, let's have our panelist, Mrs. Victoria Uwadoka, Corporate Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainability, NESO, come up. Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Please, let's have Prince Wale Bama Oyekoya, MD, CEO, Bama Farms Limited. you very much, sir. Please let's have Dr. Moji David, Group Managing Director, Extra Large Farms and Resorts. Thank you, Dr. Moji, for your personal support. Okay. Thank you very much. Please let's have Mr. Utomi Ezinwa, Manager, Agribusiness and Non-Oil Export, Union Bank PLC. And finally, let's have our moderator, Mr. Oludare Odusanya, General Manager BAT, for moderating a very insightful session. Thank you so much, Mr. Dare. Thank you. Okay, now we'll go to our sponsors. Please may we have a representative from Red Star Express PLC to come and receive their plaques. Thank you for your support. This is coming up. We can have a group, actually. I know that I saw, yeah. We can have the group from Red Star come up. Yes, please, Red Star team, come forward. I think we're going to have. We're going to have Extra Large Farm again. Extra Large Farms. They are sponsors. I know they have come up earlier. I should have done that at once. Can we have representative from Extra Large Farms for the plan? They were on the panel and they also sponsored the event. Okay, thank you very much. Please let's have Livestock Feed PLC, a representative from Livestock to come up for the pictures. If we still have a representative from John Vance Group in the room, you'll be coming up next. Thank you. Do we still have representative from John Vance in the room? Okay, John Vance Group, please come forward to receive your plaque. Thank you for your support. Okay, just before we take the vote of thanks, we're going to take some more pictures. Please, can we have Deputy President Nnamdi Okonkwo on stage, our special guests, the panelists, and the chairman of the committee, just for a group picture, and then we take the vote of thanks. Panelists, please, can you join the picture? You can leave your plaques on the table. Thank you. Vice Chair, Mr. Babura, please come forward. Thank you. We may all go to our seats. And finally, we will take our vote of thanks. And to take the vote of thanks, we're going to be having our Vice Chair of the Nbcc Agric and Agro-Allied Committee, Mr. Babura, to give us his vote of thanks.
Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, captains of industry, we are gradually winding off, coming to the end of the program. On behalf of the chamber, I would like to thank everyone who made it to this venue despite the very tight schedules and despite the weather. And also, we also appreciate members who were able to join through the online and other channels that are with us. First and foremost, I would like to thank the President and the Chairman of the Chamber, Prince Abimbola Olaoshe, the Deputy Chairman, Mr. Ngonko, Council members, ESCO members, our speakers, Mr. Kola Masha, Mr. John Alamu, Dr. Olayola Odasonya, our panelists, Mrs. Victoria Wadoka, Prince Wale Bama Oyekoya, Dr. Moji David, Mr. Otomi Ezenwa, our able moderator, Mr. Olodare Odusanya, our sponsors, John Bent's Group, Resta PLC, Livestock Feeds PLC, Extra Large Farms and Resort. And finally, the Agriculture and Agro-Allied Committee led by the able chair, Are Alaji Kamaruddin Danjuma. Thank you, sir. And the Nbcc headquarters and other ladies and gentlemen who were in support of the event. So on this note, I will say thank you to everybody. And just to mention that there are some upcoming events at the chamber. Number one, the Nbcc 2026 Energy Day on the 18th of June, 2026, scheduled for 10 a.m. Item number two is maiden edition of the Nbcc Business Innovation Series on the 25th of June, scheduled for the same 10 a.m. Then we have the Nbcc Professional Services Day scheduled for 10 a.m. on the 23rd of June, 2026. Again, we wish to reiterate that our facility, the plaza, is open with the state-of-the-art facilities for you to explore for your corporate events, trainings, seminars, and meetings at an affordable rate. In fact, there is a further discount if you can come. You can reach us. You can reach out to the chamber headquarters staff to make inquiries and reservations. If you are interested in becoming a member of the chamber, please visit our website www.nbcc.org.ng or meet with the members team at the registration. Finally, please follow us on social media to be informed of all our activities. At Nbcc_NG on Instagram, at Nigeria-British Chamber of Commerce on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. I didn't thank you.
No. Thank you, sir. All, we have now come to the end of the event.